Figure I'd jump on here. If somebody lets me know audio is okay, that'd be great. I got a few things to do before we jump into this. And you know what? While you're here, if you don't mind, you can always hit the like button. And it just brings more people in for the algo. And if you don't mind, let me know audio is good too. Because sometimes I goof up. I really do. But anyways, are you ready for the week? Are you ready? Are you ready for the week? We can jump about. So give me something to talk about. Like I said, if you think of anything business, especially you newcomers, man, let me know. If you got anything going on, anything about garage doors, service base, business, life, kids, kids. Stand by. Stand by. Since I'm not a big old sleb, wait a few minutes for a few people to pop on. I don't know how we get so many bed rails. I don't know. It's like I don't know if people. It's one thing I see at rentals. I don't get why people don't take these darn things. For whatever reason, people don't take them. It's like they're too heavy or something. But I don't mind. Scrap metal. I tell you what, having a scrap metal bin is amazing. The things I've learned over the years. I see my competition down there. Let's take a look. Obviously, do not call them. Ta-da! What else do we got in here? Ooh, let's take a look. I don't know why I like the old scrap metal. Sorry, the camera's really shaky. There we go. What's that one? An easy lift? Dang, that one's a deluxe model. I've never seen it say model 500. Ooh, the old formula. I think the formulas are pretty good. I'm trying to hold this camera steady. Uh-oh. What happened to the genie? Oh no, genie. Chamberlain. What else is in here? Anything else? The old Wayne Dalton. What's that? TS-125? Ew. What a flood. What a flood. Oh, sell your ratchet on eBay. Ew. Anywho, the scrap metal is amazing because I still remember. Maybe you guys can let me know some of your problems that you ever had. And don't be afraid to jump on here and comment about whatever if it's off topic, random. I know one thing, vendors are stinking sometimes. They end up, I know, changing this thing out. Man, that's a big chunk of metal. Look at that. I almost hate to let that go to the scrap. That's a big chunk of metal. Anyways, the vendor that built this, built the new one, they failed. They're sending us a new one though. So that's good. That's nice of them. But anywho, let me know if you guys got something, where you're from, what state, what's going on in the world. How old are you? Young, old, medium? Anything. Anything. Bring it up. Bring it up. Like I said, gotta make sure we don't hit no vehicles. All right. I'm gonna go into the office where there's some air conditioning. Because holy moly, we're supposed to get a cool down, which is gonna be really, really nice. Like super duper nice. I don't know how hot it is for you guys, but it's hot. It's been hot. I think it's more or less muggy. Muggy is the word? Muggy. I see you. Is it, I see the last part. Is it Muslim? It's a Muslim. It says, I don't, it's Marco? Marco? Is that like America? About Marco? I don't know, you have to let me know. I'm horrible. Oh, shoot. Here we go. We got the elite on here. Is it Scottsboro, Alabama? You're in Alabama? I don't think I have anybody from Alabama. So that's pretty cool. I'm assuming Alabama gets super hot, like muggy, like miserable muggy. We don't really get that too much. We get little spurts, maybe for a week or two, and then like what it's going to be where it's going to cool down. That's going to be nice. So I think our dew points are like in the 70, 73, and then they're going to go down in the 53-ish, I think. Anybody use these guys yet? Oh, got the screen closed. Yeah, buddy. You like that? You like those? Feels much better in here. Little mini splits work pretty darn good. Oh, I forgot a holster. How am I going to do this? You guys are going to have to let me know if the audio's okay if I do it like this. If the audio's A-okay. I thought I had a holder for this thing. It's not working. Let's try it that way. That's a little high. That's a little high too. I don't like that. It's so high. Oh, I can figure this out. There's got to be more than one way to skin a cat. I don't know. I might have to go out and get a holster. But anyways, what do you guys got? What do you guys got? What's new? Anybody do anything for the weekend? Anybody working? Oh, that water tastes good. North Africa? Dang! Elite says, he goes, it's miserable right now. Heat index around 105. Dang, you got us licked, man. I think we're 90, I thought I heard. Heat index, 90, 93. So, that's crazy. Philippines, man, I can't believe how many people we reach out to here. That's amazing. There's people like all over. Not even in the United States, just all over. I thought, I'm just joking with this. I thought we were the only ones that had internet. You guys from those other countries and that, you got to send me some. I don't know. Can you guys send out emails? Will it come across the pond? We gotta see some of those pictures, man. Send them at the daveadubson@gmail.com. Send them out. Like I said, send me some pictures of just the landscape or whatever. Just anything that's kind of cool. I love seeing stuff like that. Because I probably, as much as I'd like to, probably not going to be able to travel. It takes a lot of money. I don't know if I'm going to invest any money into that kind of stuff. Maybe when I get older, but, older might never come. If that makes sense. Excuse me. I know. If you're just cruising through, if you don't mind, like I said, just hit the like button. It'll help. It just helps the algo. It just brings more people in, more conversation. It keeps me from picking my nose by myself. Oh, Kevin's in the house. I see a wrencher. He's got the wrench. Watch out. We got a moderator. He will punish you. I'm so sorry. This is so unprofessional. Are you sure you want to stop? No, I don't want to stop. I just want to get my tripod set up because I'm such a noob and I really messed up. I'm so sorry. So unprofessional. But we're getting you on a tripod. We're getting you guys looking a little better here so we can have a conversation about just whatever you'd like. Bring it up. Business. Some people seen probably what happened to Mr. T. I don't want to really say his name. I might get in trouble, because, free speech is really not free. So, I see Beam on there. Is it Humberto? Greetings from, is it Miami? That's awesome. That's awesome, man. You definitely got some pictures to send. All right, I think we got power. I think we're looking pretty good. Except I can't. Here we go. So I forgot to tell you about the scrap hopper. Just for some of you guys that might be growing. This is Call Me Chuck in a truck beam. What's up, Chuck? So I'll tell you a little story one time about this scrap hopper, right? So I used to, right? This is the power, right? I want to talk to you a little bit about this. This is the power of your mind, right? Your mindset. So I used to always take our scrap. Now, I don't know if you guys have realized if this is kind of across the border, if it's just in our neck of the woods. But I've noticed that scrap metal is like not what it used to be. Scrap metal used to be pretty darn good. And anywho, this was quite a few years ago. But anyways, I was taking scrap metal back. I had a trailer that I built for like under $100. I had everything Anyways, the tongue on it wasn't the best. And we overloaded it with scrap metal. And we were very fortunate that I ended up, I left my house business location. And I remember as I turned out of the driveway onto the road, right, I heard this tearing of steel, it sounded like. This, and all of a sudden the trailer goes kaboom! Right on the concrete, well, asphalt, because we were on the road. Now, luckily, I had a forklift at the house / business. And everything's paved, so everything's good. Because we were kind of like in an industrial area. And man, I was really lucky that I had that forklift. So I looked at the guy next to me. He's like, "What are we going to do?" And I said, "What we're going to do is we're going to go get the forklift and we are going to get this back in the driveway before the police are called or we cause an accident." So definitely one of those embarrassing moments in my life. And so later on, we had one company, and I think they wanted to charge us. Unfortunately, it was like $200 to $400 a month. And then we had another company come out, right? This is why, everybody should get bids, right? But we don't like it. We don't like it when it happens to us, right? When we got to go there and they got to go, "You're the first one to give a bid, so I got to call 2 other people." And you're like, fudge. You're like, "Well, I wish I could have been the last." And then I could have been like, "So what were your numbers? Well, how'd they do? Where were they at? Like, what was their resume like? Who'd you call?" And so anyways, I got this other guy out here, and they've been phenomenal. They were like, "We won't charge you anything. So you can have it for like 3 months, and we won't charge you nothing for the bin. We will just take the metal, and we will send you a check." And that's worked out really, really good. And I guess some of the reason is what I noticed, right, with scrap metal is, yeah, turn this camera on real quick here. I don't like the boogeyman sneaking up. But what I noticed was one time, a few times this happened actually. I'd be working with somebody, and we go unload scrap metal, and I remember the scrap metal, we'd be chucking it off the trailer, right? Well, these guys, not on purpose by any means, but as you're chucking it, right? I mean, sometimes it was like, a piece of garage door track is, going right past your head, and you're like, "Holy crap, dude!" Now, I've had it too where I throw in a couple chunks, and I about wiped somebody out too. And I always told myself it was going to be a matter of time. I don't know if it's changed, but I've seen over the years the progress where the workers and that would start having to wear like high vis, and then they started having to wear hard hats. And I thought it's going to become a time. So you guys can let me know too if this has happened at your guys' location. But it's going to become a time where they're going to make you wear high vis as a customer and a hard hat and maybe safety glasses or maybe sleeves. I don't know. I don't think they go as far as sleeves probably is my guess. Not yet. But for insurance reasons, or maybe they don't even let you get out of the truck. They have to pull it off magnet or whatever. I don't know. But I just, and then there was a few times I went in there. I mean, as soon as you knew it happened right there, right? You're backing up and all of a sudden you hear, there's a tire. You're like, man, well, there goes whatever, depending on where it hit. You know, can you repair it? Is it on the sidewall? So it just got to be like, this is ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like, this is not worth it. And then your time, then your gas, liability of something falling out. Because it's kind of like, I guess the way I describe it a little bit is I think about somebody I know, let's just say, they don't take pop cans back, right? It's the kind of the mindset, right? What's your time worth? So once you kind of grow, you realize your time, you know what I'm saying? What's up? Is it some dude? What a cool name. It says, I used to make like 600-700 back in 2018 when I was out replacing doors in, is it Cleveland, Ohio? That makes sense. That makes sense. It says off scrap, miss those days. Yeah, I think scrap metal is, like I said, it's not as good as it used to be. We got people around town that are scrappers, and you know they always got some beat up truck, and it's like I forget if we seen one stop somewhere, and me and the wife were commenting about, you know, what they did. They just spent $20 to make $10. And I said, well, I said, they don't look at it that way, honey. I said, they look at it like they go down there, they give you cash money. I said, they got their fix for the day. They're good for the weekend. And I said, then Monday comes and they don't have no money. I said, obviously buy tires or fix the vehicle or do an oil change. You know what I'm saying? So, but it is sad. Now, I could be wrong. If anybody's got any inputs, throw it on in the comments. I feel like this is just my feeling. I don't know if this is proven by any means. I feel like scrap prices go up, not by the day to it, but when fuel prices go up. That was always my theory when I used to bring back scrap metal. It seemed like with high gas prices came high scrap metal values, if that makes sense. Now, it sounds like I've talked to a few people. They've taken stuff in, right? And I don't know. It sounds like, you know, like I think they pay still somewhat of a premium on like the copper, aluminum, things of that nature, certain off stuff. Oh, look, there's 20. Like I said, if we got 4 likes. If we can get up to like 5 or 6, that'd be great. So just don't forget, hit the like button. Like I said, don't cost nothing. There's no tracking device on it. The government won't even know. I promise you. And I don't even know. I just see it. And I appreciate it. So anywho, anybody got what's going on for this week? Who's out there running, kind of chucking a truck? Who's got a small little one-man garage door business? Anybody out there running that kind of show? Or who's starting out? Anybody starting out? Just starting out? Or thinking about starting out? Crazy times. Crazy times. You almost didn't get Mr. T. Mr. T almost got taken out. Wasn't even going to be a chance. Be a runner-up. I worry about the inflation, honestly. What's Beam say? Beam, it says, is it Mir? What's M-E-E-R? What's Mir? I don't know what that means. What's that? What's that? I'm going to take a walk out here. Just take a look at this real quick. See if you guys can fire up any questions. And like I said, if you think about anything for business, what in the flipjacks? Why is this just chilling here? Oh, yeah. Some things in the world never change. Oh. Yes. Man, this place needs some light bulbs changed badly. Oh, yeah, there's still some genies over there. Tony says, I'm mega more than ever. Let's see what we got here. Oh, yeah. Notice. Update software. Oh, yeah. Okay. Sure. Whatever you say. Whatever you say, Liftmaster. Oh, my guys got you here. I must say, I'm going to do some editing. I got to do some video clips and stuff. Some editing on it, but I did the box doors. Those box store doors. They went fantastic. I'm pretty impressed. So if you're just starting out, I probably wouldn't have normally recommended it, but I'm telling you, if there's a will, there is a way. Tony says, yeah, has updated software where you can switch in frequency. That is, interesting. Thanks for putting that in there, Tony. Somebody says currently. Oh, Beam says I'm not having luck due to inflation. Beam, let's have a conversation about it. What do you mean? What are you talking about? Are you full into it, or is this kind of a part-time gig? Or give me some details, buddy. Give me some juicies. Let me know what you got. Are you chucking a truck? Just starting out? What you got? What you got? Maybe I can help a little bit. Currently in the acceleration phase. How difficult is to is it certification test? Ooh, some dude, can you kind of clarify that a little bit? Accreditation phase. I guess, can you put that in a little more layman's, like, or give me a little more details specific on what you're asking there? Because I'd love to try to kind of help you execute that a little bit. Steve Scott, Steven, sorry. It's hard sometimes, it's kind of weird, especially like this shirt, the back. Man, maybe somebody here, if Kevin's here or like Tony or any other you guys, how do I go down this road? I don't want to be, I don't know how to say this. It's one of those things, like, in my heart, right? I feel like there's nothing ever, it doesn't hurt to ever do any classes, certifications, training, right? If you got the time, right? By all means, you should always. But bingo. I think Kevin nailed it. Kevin nailed it. And that's kind of what I feel like. It's, you really don't need the certs. You know what I mean? Certifications. You just kind of really need to just get out there. And how do I say it? I mean, it's more or less like, because trust me, when I started out, I was thinking the same thing, right? I was thinking, oh my gosh, we got to have the right vehicles. We got to have magnets on our vehicles. We got to have, we got to have uniforms. We got to be fully super duper insured. All these things, right? And I'm going to put together somewhat a video, so stay tuned. Become a subscriber. Hit the like button, please. And but anyways, I basically put a post, right, on. I love it, man. I love it. Tony's got a good one too. He says, get out there, and he says, start turning the profit. I couldn't agree more. I really couldn't agree more. I really think that's you gotta have the money. The money is like the grease, right, for the moving parts, and you gotta have the money, and you can spend all these things. And here's a perfect example, right? And that's why I've been kind of beta testing this. So I did one through Facebook, right? I put an ad. I got an ad. And it basically explains that I do stuff for training and stuff like that. And you could do this any way you want, right? You could be like, anything. And you'd be surprised that most people are willing, right? And you could offer a really good discount, especially when you're starting out because your overhead's real low. But for instance, right, the one I went to, and I'm not trying to, this is not training or anything. This is not legal advice. I'm just some random dude on YouTube. But anyways, I go there, right? I mean, she didn't ask me what my certs were. She didn't ask me for what my insurance was. I went there with a little pickup truck and confidence, right? And even if I didn't go there with confidence and I explained my situation of like, I'm doing this. See, I think I was just watching something and they were talking about, this guy was talking about how people will do stuff for a paycheck, but they won't do something that's going to benefit them in the future for nothing, for free, basically. And I thought it was for investing in a sense. And I thought there's a lot of truth to that. You know what I mean? So if you're not skilled, because I don't know how to explain it, but the universe is really complex. And I've noticed this in business. I've had this happen many a times where like, if you get a day that you're not doing something, start cleaning out your vehicle, tear that sucker apart and start getting it organized or whatever. So you're ready like a fireman, right? And the darn phone will ring when you got that thing pretty much all tore out. That's how it works. Every time you try to plan something, it's like somebody comes in to interrupt it. You know what I mean? In a good way, right? Because they're going to pay you or pay for your service. So, and there's so many things out there. So many people have so many more things at their disposal for free. Nextdoor, Facebook, Google, I think you can do some on there. You can do, what else all these things, you know what I mean? So many things. Craigslist. Some people still use Craigslist. And you'd be surprised. Even if you go out there and you're doing it for like let's say you're going to do an opener for like $20. You'd be surprised just by people talking. So like, for instance, some of these people I find, right, they also have some kind of media, or they're doing something as a side and they promote you. And all it takes is you're going to get into that next person. And so the big thing is just, you got to get out there. Get out there. Don't worry about so much, because most of the stuff, it's kind of like, how do I explain it? You can do all the training, but until you do actual driving, right, it's kind of a, driving is different than what you can ever read in textbooks. Don't worry so much about that certain stuff. Just get out there, start doing some openers, and I'm telling you, probably within the last year, my eyes have opened up to so much, a lot because of you guys, a lot because I've looked in different places, and I cannot believe how easy it is to get. Like you can get pretty much everything I can get. You know what I mean? It isn't so much dealer now, or you got to be this, or you can get it offline. It's amazing. It's amazing. And so that's what blows my mind with a lot of this stuff too, is that there's so much more technology, so many free things, YouTube University, right? For you to learn how to do stuff. And so many people just still whine and complain about everything, that are doing whatever, right? That are just like, oh, poor me. And it's like, and I'm not even talking about the garage door industry. I'm just talking more like just in general with people. And I'm like, there's so many opportunities right now. And there's so many people out there that don't want to work. You wouldn't believe how many people I come across that are just like, oh my gosh, you showed up when you said you're going to show up. Even the lady said when I was doing those doors, she goes, I thought for sure it was a scam. Now I should have done, there's some more things. I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of lazy on how I advertise it, but there's better ways I could promote it. Let's just say. Certification doesn't mean a thing. More important to put your energy into building a reputation. Ooh, that's true. That is true. And like I said, you'd be so surprised that when you do a good quality, that somebody else will refer you or they'll recommend you. It's amazing. It really is. Being, he says, I'm honestly, he says, I'm overwhelmed as hell trying to get things off the ground with limited funds. Maryland requires a contractor license, so I gotta take time on that. Rich B. Love it. He says certs are like diplomas. They are worthless. It is kind of weird when you think about a diploma, how like when you go to all these places, I never had anybody. And then I even had a family member that lied about it. And they still, you know what I mean? Like they don't ever ask. They're just like, do you have this? Are you an American citizen? Yes. Are you this? Yes. You know, it's kind of funny. But I wanted to kind of address Beam. I'm not quite sure what you could do about the Maryland. Requires a contractor's license. I feel like if you were doing some smaller jobs, you know what I mean, that you could just be upfront with them and say, look, you're going to either have to pay me, pay me cash, pay me a check directly or into your business of some sort. Because, most people don't realize that, basically when you're, your Social Security, basically you're already a business, right? You're property of the United States of America. It's just like if you try to leave the country, you still got to pay America taxes, right? Unless you, try to get out of that citizenship, but I think you got to spend like $5,000 to do that. They own you, baby. And so to me, it's like, I feel like, at least for resis, like I said, I'd still be out there just pushing, you know what I mean? Like the Nextdoor, the Facebook, do something. If you can, Beam, try to get with like possibly some garage door companies. Get with some smaller ones, some mom and pop ones. Like I said, right here, man. Right here. Not the exit. Enter. If somebody was to walk in here, right? That's the problem, though. Right there. That's like the whole world's problem right there. Is to get people that have the cojones to walk in that door, to shake hand, look in eye, not smell like dopey dope, right? Not be like this. Hey, I'm here to work today. I can work in flip-flops and sweatpants, and go, but I don't got a driver's license. I can work. And you're like, what do you think we do? We sit around here all day and rake leaves? You walk in, wear some boots, some blue jeans, right? Stand up with your shoulders. Says, hey, I got a family to support. I need to make some money. Well, how can we do business together? And you find some of these guys, like I said, it's like with me, I would gladly help you and coach you, and I would get you on your way. I would give you work because there's so many things. Like I said, this business right here, we're drowning. You know how much more we could scale, but can you deliver? That's the problem. You know what I mean? That's the problem. Can you actually have, good people that can step up to the task, that can be leaders, that can be problem solvers, that don't panic when the first thing goes wrong and pick up the phone and be like, toot, 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 mayday, 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 mayday. They go, whoa, I need to take a minute. I need to walk out. I need to look at something. I need to pay attention. I need to evaluate this for a few minutes. Oh, I got a solution. And this is how we're gonna go. And if I really needs a question answered or something, I'm gonna call somebody that's above me that might know, or at least run it past them, right? So what I'm saying is I wouldn't be afraid to network. Oh, I see we're up to 9 likes. Maybe we can get 10. Like out of 20, we just need one more person. Okay. Get started. Honestly, he says certs are diploma worthless. Steve's here. Steve's got. He says I agree that certifications aren't necessary. I jokingly tell my friends I'm YouTube trained. I'm going to keep that one. That's a good one. I always liked YouTube University. Now I'm YouTube trained. That's a good one. Good one. Love it. Love it. That's awesome. You know, it blows my mind to just walk around in stores and shopping centers and lumber yards and just a lot of places. And it's like you're always, you know, am I the only one? Like, am I the only one? You're like looking over and you're like, what the hell's going on around here? Man, people are just getting stupider and stupider, you know? And it's like, and I go, I don't get it. I go, there's so much more free technology, free information. I mean, we got millionaires on YouTube. We got billionaires on YouTube. We can listen to what they're talking about. And we got so many people that just don't ever pay attention, right? They'll just go whatever they do, play video games. I don't know what they do, but it just blows my mind where I just go, this is amazing that this is where we, you know, come on, we can do better. Beam. Customers are like me. But when I name a price, they think I'm a scammer. That's weird. That's weird that they think you're a scammer, huh? I think the way I might address that a little bit is maybe what you can do is try to take, when you get to certain jobs that you like or whatever, and the customer's okay with it, you know, and I got like a disclosure form and stuff that sometimes I'll have them fill out. So if you're a little bit nervous, you can find it offline. And something just says, you know, basically, I'm okay for filming. And obviously, you're not going to film personally. You're not going to go in their house and look at their toilet or something. You're just garage door area. Maybe you can take some film, you know, and you can also put that on there. And that way, maybe what you want to do is maybe you want to do like a YouTube. And you could also make a link, you know, to send it to them or to send them that clip of what you're doing, right? Because there is a lot of scams, right? I mean, I was just listening today. I think this was another state. There was some guy that was saying like these contractors, they were landscapers, came over and they said, hey, we got this extra bark. We'll give you a heck of a deal. Like, we just have extra left over. And if we can just do your yard. Well, you know, obviously what was the weird part was the guy mentioned, well, can you give me an estimate? And they said, well, we can't give you an estimate until we're done. We don't know. And so he ended up having them do it. And they were charging him like, I think it was $5,000 to put like partial bags of bark down. Definitely not worth $5,000. So anyways, he called the cop, right? The cop said, this is a civil matter. Of course it is. He said, maybe you guys should just figure it out. Well, they came up with $2,500. Big scam, right? So, I mean, obviously customers, you got to give them estimates. You got to build that trust. But what I'm saying though is that way, if you had something, you know, maybe you could show them a little bit of your work that you're doing, you know, something of that nature. Maybe you also gotta bump your price up. You know what I mean? You know, just so they don't feel like it's a scam. You know, I get that some people, and the price is just, I've heard stories of it. I don't think I've ever had it personally happen to me that I can remember, where somebody said, man, you were just, now I had a DPW, right? And they ended up becoming a good customer. We were the middle price. And the guy said, I really just liked you because he said, you know, for one, you shook my hand. He says, for two, he says, you were, you know, you said you'd really like to do this job. And he said, everybody else just acted like it was just a quote. And so he said, we decided to use you, you know. And it turned out to be a long time good customer. Customers. But good stuff. Good stuff, Beam. Tony says, Beanie says, I would move to another state. So he's got, requires a license if I want to open an AMR or Service Spring account. I need some help on this, guys. Now I could see Amar possibly doing that, but Service Spring? Are you sure about Service Spring? Now here's the thing. I'm telling you from the bottom of my heart. I don't know why. I mean, or find a local, if you can find a small mom and pop shop place. I'm trying to think. Now help me, fill me in the comments here. Let's get the juices rolling here. So I'm sitting here in my head. I'm telling myself go to the box stores. Go to the freaking box stores. You can buy, like I said, I just installed this for this lady, right? It was a Menards door. And it went really good, actually. I didn't have to deal with the product. They bought it. They got rebates. They were so happy. And I did my job, right? It's labor. Boom, bada bing, bada boom. And she's going to get an opener. That should be coming up. I said, go with the Chamberlain. I said, Jeannie's been having some problems. Plus, Chamberlain just is a little nicer to program. Box store, baby. Box store. That's the free-for-all, baby. And guess what? If it don't work, right back in the box. Tell the customer, take it back. You know, I'm not going to go stand in line. Take it back. I mean, I would if I have to or whatever, right? But basically, it's on the customer. Take the same back. You got the receipt? Take it back. I'll come back another day. My time is worth a lot. Take it back. Take it back. She can go stay in line, rebate, return, go back, whoever, guy or girl. Go get the other opener. Call me when you get the next one. And I'm now out $200. Just an idea. But I didn't know I don't know if Service Spring does that because of what state you're in. But that throws me. I'm like, Service Spring, what the heck do they care? Tell them you're starting a tell them you're not an installer. You know what I mean? How are they going to tell you that? Just tell them, say, I got a box store or whatever. I'm selling product. Beam says the small companies pay 18 to 23 and want entry-level guys. Experience, think we will steal. Would love to discuss in detail, maybe be accepting a pest control job, but they let me upsell garage door stuff if I want. Nice. Trim, rubber, etc. Nice. So Beam, another thing too, honestly, if it was me, if I was going in, I'd want to be a sub. I'd want to be a 1099 sub. That's how I would be if going in. I don't want to be on your payroll. You know what I mean? I was thinking about this the other day. I forget what job it was, but I was thinking about it. And I was thinking to myself, if I was to go work for somebody, like Tony's going to get me hooked up down in Florida, I don't even want to I want to get paid. So I remember this one guy was my vendor through another venue. He was 100% commission. You know what I mean? Like he didn't get no salary or anything. And I thought, that's how I want to be, right? I want to hustle for my money. You don't have to worry about paying me. Like, it's going to be fair, right? If I get this job, it goes through, blah, blah, blah. You're going to get paid. I get a commission off of it, whatever. And I go on my merry way. And then I'm not beheld to, oh my gosh, hey, today, can you make sure this and this and this? Nah. You know what I mean? Like, I'll get her done. You know what I mean? Like, I'll get her done. And I'm just 100% commission, so it's fair, instead of babysitting. You don't need to babysit me. You know what I mean? So that's why I think about like being a sub. Like I said, somebody wants to walk in, the door is open. Right there. They got a good attitude and they're like, hey, I want to work. You know what I mean? I want to hustle. Hey, come be a part of the team. You know what I mean? Train you, try to make you a better person, better man, better woman. It's hard to find. It's super hard to find. You need to hire on attitude. You know what I mean? Instead of hiring on experience. Because attitude is what makes a big difference. Huge difference. Let's go to details. Steven, what's Steven got? He says, Dave, he said, I want to thank you so much You have no idea tremendous amount of help that you have been to me for understanding garage door industry. Thank you. No, Stephen, thank you. I really appreciate that. That's very nice of you. And like I said, if you got anything, got any questions or anything, ask away. There isn't no dumb question. You know what I mean? There's so many things I didn't know in the industry. And I was telling the lady I was just working for, I said, I feel like I'm doing a whole 360 here. I said, because I said, heck, I said, I remember when I started out, you know, it was like we're on the LiftMaster bandwagon, right? And it was like, we're gonna sell them and we're gonna sell them so cheap and we're gonna be the best, blah, blah, blah. And I sit here and I think about all the years and years and years and years and years and years. And it's like the customer never cared. They just wanted the door to open and close. That's all they cared about. And they just want to pay X amount of dollars, typically a little bit on the cheaper side. And away you go. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and we had a discussion even, she had an older Genie, and we're adding up remotes. And I said, remotes are $35, $45 from the store. And I said, by the time you do an outside keypad, I said, you know, we're talking $100. And I said, for $200, I said, we get everything new. You know what I mean? It's a package deal. And I mean, that still just blows my mind. Like when I sit there and go, you can't even buy like, even like she was explaining about like with garage door sections. And I said, I feel horrible about garage door sections. And I got to come up to a customer and they got one, or sometimes they got two garage door sections that are damaged. And I'm like, oh, and then it's even worse when they have two doors, right? When they're side by side, you know, maybe two 9x7s. Because now you're going, oh, because by the time you change out those sections, and then there's the price, and then you come back and maybe you forgot to mention or didn't have a disclosure or whatever, and let's say the sheen is wrong, right? Because the sun has faded the other one, and now they're like, oh, I don't like this. This one, you know, and now you're like, yeah, we should replace both of them. Now what do I do? Do I give you a deal? I mean, or you got to get out here with a paintbrush, depending on what kind of door they are. Do. Yeah. He says, yeah. He says, she got to have tax ID number for both places. This is a good point, Tony. I'm trying to think, though, if you got to have tax ID number, like, who cares? Like, you can get doing a business as. So I don't know. I guess you just got to find a way to word it differently, is the way I would do. And honestly, I should bring this up before I forget. If I could go back into the universe, back in time, I would have set the business up to be more. Now, I'm not picking at nobody. And I wouldn't do a name of some sort. I would do a very generic ABC garage doors, reliable garage doors. Quality is another one around here. Quality garage door. Something, but anyways, I wouldn't even probably pick that, because you might not, you know, setting these things up is a real pain, right? There's a lot of work that goes into it. It feels like it takes me like 3 years to finally get all the bugs worked out of them. But anyways, I might set it up. There's one around here. I think it's JFK or something like that. JFK. It's his initials, I think. But anyways, it's Enterprise. You might want to do something. If you do Enterprise, you got a little more leadway. You know what I'm saying? This is like a wink, wink type thing. You know what I'm saying? So if you go in there and they're like, well, what do you do? What do you do? And you go, it ain't none of your freaking business what I do. And anyways, you just tell them, say, you know, well, I'm just selling remotes out my garage door, you know, out of my basement. And yeah, I live with my mom. And yeah, I got a van down by the river. Yeah, what's your problem with that? You know. So I'm just saying, like, if you do it as more of a, but obviously if you say, I'm Dave's garage door service and installation, it's going to be a little hard to persuade that. You know what I'm saying? So you might just start out with a clean slate and say, you know what? It's going to be Double D Enterprise. You know, whatever. Just something to think about. You got a little more loosey-goosey in there. But that's a good one. That is a good one. It says, so Beam's got, I go to Home Depot for 8 and 9x7s and motors, perfect. They don't give you no crap, do they? They don't give you no crap. They just want your money. They just want your money. So Steven Scott, he says, I have an account with Amar and Silver Spring. They didn't ask me for my license. And maybe what we're going around to is the tax ID, which I think Tony, can't you use your social security number? Rich has got your social security number. I think there is a way that you can kind of technically use your social security number. DBAs, from what I understand, are not too bad. It sounds like what I've kind of vaguely read online or seen on the old internet, and that internet never lies, is actually on the IRS or whatever. You can go to their website and you can actually form your own tax ID number or doing business as right from there free. That's from what I understand. Now, I had an attorney years ago write up ours. It ain't not. It's just you just basically are trying to tell the government, this is my name. I'm trying to run a business in this name, and I'm going to pay you taxes. So they normally will work you through it because they like taking your money for sure. And so maybe if you can do that, you can shop around. You could maybe talk to a couple of local attorneys or something, or some accountants and stuff like that, and they might be able to help you out. And don't be afraid. Use your gut. Use your gut. There's a lot of times I just went with it thinking, oh, I'm at the professionals. Like this, they got a building, right? And there was just things like one guy, one time we went to a different tax person, and this is just a little pro tip possibly. The guy, we sit down with him, right? We're just evaluating. We told him we might be looking for somebody new. And the secretary, whoever came up, right? And they asked for our ID. It was me and my wife. And we're like, oh, okay, well, sure, yeah. Give them our ID, right? Well, they had the nerve after we were done using them, and this was just a consultation, right? It was just, as far as we knew, there was nothing ever talked about money being exchanged here. But I wish I would have known that, because now I would have stepped back, and if somebody was asking me, can we have your ID? I said, what the hell for? Why do you need my ID? We're just here to see if we're going to fit, for a good match. Why would you ever want my ID? And anyways, they decided to send us, I think it was like a $200 bill for that 15, 30-minute meeting. And hey, I'm all about that time, baby, right? I think like the attorneys. But I'm also like, you need to let me know about this. Now, if we would have had something, we would have signed for something, we would have been told over the phone, we've been told when we were there. That's fine. You know what I mean? So, needless to say, even the accountant didn't come after us. We let it go for a long time. They would send us a bill, and it was like, nah, we know what kind of pain it is to go to court on this. We'll just let this one ride out. And it really ticked me off, because I thought, you know what? I'll never give them my ID ever again if I go to sit down with somebody. Now, I might ask them too, but the fact that they didn't tell us, and we went to a couple other ones that never charged us, and so it seemed a little crooked, and I wouldn't do business. I didn't do business with them. And now I can't ever recommend them either. You know what I mean? Because I feel like they're crooks. Is it? I'm gonna say, is it Bjardin? Darn? I'm gonna use darn. I mean, I could see them asking, depending on where you are from. In Chicago, I could see they need license because there's 1 million garage door companies. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think we got maybe a little sidetracked on this. And like I said, I can see maybe we're talking about more of a tax ID number than so much a, it could be too. I know some places are different. But it seems like the builder's license wouldn't come up until that's like municipalities, you know what I mean? Like you're doing it, you're pulling a permit, those kind of things. Tony says, Silver Spring will check you out. Make sure you're a legit business. I can see that probably happening. I know this stuff. The thing is I've started back in 2006. And I tell you, even like Google has changed so much. So I know a lot of these places, plus they got a lot more technology at their disposal. I mean, you think about it, back in the day, they'd have to darn near physically drive to your location. If you're like, I got a location. I mean, now they can just click on Google Earth or whatever and zoom in and, you know, watch you in a porta-john, basically. Rich says Chicago just wants to shake you down for money. That's very true. I think Rich is. Trust me, the old Michigan ain't the best, but I tell you what, it's a heck of a lot better than Chicago. I couldn't even imagine. There's just no reason for anything in Chicago. I just don't even know how people. It's got to be right there with New York. You know what I mean? And it's sad. It's really sad. I mean that. You know, it's just not cool. It's really out of control. I do like the model of performance pay. Ooh, that's a good one. I like that. That's not bad. Say performance pay. Says Rich B, what do you mean? He says the companies are trying to take money. A1 services. Keep hearing about this A1. Is it A1 doing like the software? I don't think the guy like ever cranks a wrench. He just does software. That's all I ever see for ads, anyways. Tony says, but when you have garage doors in the name, that helps. Oh, Tony's got a good one. That is true. That is true. Good point, Tony. Good point, man. Touche on that one. That's a good point. Yes, it is. I mean, obviously, it is nice to have your business in the name. You know what I mean? What you do, because people then know on the business card. They're not calling you saying, "Can you come fix my hot water tank?" And you're like, "Why are you calling me? I don't fix hot water tanks." You know, like, so that's a very that is a very true statement. That is very true. I guess what I look at it like, though, in the back of my brain right now, very skimming off the top here, is I go, the only thing I can see is that if you set it up at least as, let's just say, ABC Enterprise. I can't say for a fact that this won't happen, but you could technically, you can probably set it up. You can probably skim it in there with advertising to some degree. Because we always got to remember that most places just want our money, right? So if you're going to pay for advertising, let's say like on Google or you start doing on Facebook or whatever, they don't almost kind of care. They might check you out a little bit. They want addresses and phone numbers and stuff like that, emails to all like link, right? But you might be able to put that on there as like ABC Enterprise garage doors or ABC, you know what I'm saying? Like an ABC is like the hub. Instead of setting up another one, and maybe that's going to be the future. You know, maybe ABC Enterprise is going to be the hub eventually, and then you're going to branch off. You know, and then there's like, you know, maybe you do car detailing, maybe you do lawnmower repair, whatever, cutting grass. That's just something, because like I said, it just takes so much. And the biggest thing I always see is people like, you know, like, well, can I write you a check, or who do I write it out to? And that's where it gets a little like when you're like, well, and you can have them just write it to you. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, you're just supposed to, you got to document it certain ways and all that stuff. Like I said, not legal advice. It's just, I just don't think we're going to ever get away from, what do we call it? Chuck in a truck, the trunk slammer, in a sense. I think that's what regulates us all, in a sense, right? While some of us can, you know, we can go up a little bit, but some of us, you know, it's always kind of we're all at the same level to some degree, and there's not one that's just extreme for the most part, because you can't, you can't explode in price, because there's going to be somebody else that's going to come in cheaper, and that's the revolution of it. You know what I mean? That's just kind of where, and that's why I'm always telling either it's price or you got to be more efficient, you know? But when you helps, yes. Yes, Steve says, I do have a DBA and tax ID. Perfect. Perfect. Steve, he says, if you have a tax ID number, that's all you need. He says, I would just go and pick them up in person. That way, state don't know what you have. Ooh, I like it. I like it. He says, I live in Indiana. He says, Service Spring is in Ohio. When I pick up, he says, I have to pay taxes when I have them delivered. He says, I'm tax free. Nice. A1 Services for a business name. Ah. So it's kind of weird. I'm just kind of popping this up out of nowhere. But you know, it used to be you had to so like big thing for me why it was affordable is because we were competing with, in a sense, there used to be a company around here called A1 Garage Door, and they were the top dogs, right? So we started with A because the phone book's it's not a thing anymore, so it's really kind of silly. I don't see any benefit, honestly, of it. It's kind of dumb, you know, to do that anymore because everybody uses the internet. So now it's always just, you know, kind of reviews and whatever you pay for ads. Business name is Tony's Garage Door Service. He says, you don't know how many times I've had people call thinking that I'm a garage with their car fixed. Oh. So, you know, I think this is kind of maybe a little bit across the board, but does anybody for some reason, we get a lot of garage doors with gutters. I don't even know how those ever correlate. Like I can see garage doors and gates, because I do garage doors and gates, and I can see where like linear was always one of them, right? You could buy linear garage door openers, you could buy linear gate operators, LiftMaster, right? LiftMaster, you can buy gate operators, you can buy garage door openers. Like I can see those kind of mingling together. But gutters, when people be like, do you do gutters? I'm like, where did you get gutters? Like we don't do gutters. Like I've had so many of that over the years. You do gutters? No, we don't do gutters. Why do you think we do gutters? Like I don't ever understand where that even has the slightest correlation. Like we're talking about a roof product or an eave, and then we're down to a garage door. Like I'm always like, where does gutters come up? Like I can see if they were like, I don't know, maybe like the concrete or something, like the beams. If you ever seen that, where they put a beam in the concrete to keep the door sealing on it. Maybe the concrete's a little out of whack or something. Like, do you do a little bit of concrete repair? Like, I can see it. What do you mean? Well, because I got this pipe that's rotted, or I need a pipe put in so the door sits on it. Something, or framing, like something. But gutters? Why did gutters come in there? I just don't see anything. They don't have no electronics. They're not even shaped the same way because they're aluminum. And we think we got a trailer. We open up our back doors and we spit out garage doors. Like, yeah. This is Rich Beast. My question is, when I see, this is when they see your van going down the road, and it says A1 Services. It says, do they ever call you and ask what your service? That is a good one. That is good. That is true. Yeah, I mean, I could see that, and I just think of it as like who's to say? Because when I think about it, I've had it so many times where people, like you almost got to kind of spell it out for them. So especially if you're just starting out, it's not that hard to mingle that way, you know. So like for people writing checks and stuff, you can always just have them say, look, if you know, that should be one of your things that you're asking people, right? How are you planning on paying? And then if they say, well, I'm going to pay check, you say, okay, well, if you're going to pay check, you need to write it out, you know, into my name. You need to write it out into the business, but you're going to do it as A1 Service or something, not A1 Service garage door and gate repair or something like that. just do A1 service, right? And I never got too much pushback for that, right? Because you can kind of like, this is how I kind of thought about it a little bit. And this was just because I think about you guys and people starting out and stuff. And I think about like this rental company we have in town. And I'm thinking, okay, they rent out porta-johns, right? They rent out stump grinders. They rent out, you name it, right? Boom lifts, scissor lifts, dethatchers, lawnmowers, and I thought, well, what's the, well, why am I writing this out for this when I got a porta-john instead? It's their place. It's a Ready Rental is what it's called around here. Why isn't it Ready Rental dumpster? Why isn't it Ready Rental porta-john? Like, I don't, they just know that it's the company, and the company does a service of some sort. So I just kind of think about where you could kind of go, well, you could kind of direct them in that way, and say, look, this is just what we call it, but this is what we specify, and that's why the advertising. People normally don't really care that much. They're normally not that picky to some degree, it's just, my thing is that it takes you so long to start that stuff up anyways, to get all that stuff in the works. And then you get it in with all the vendors. It takes years to ever undo certain stuff if you don't kind of keep it as like an umbrella. Because there's just been certain things where it's like you had to do stuff with the business, and it would have been easier if it was more of a neutral party in a sense versus being maybe so specific. I can't think of quite of an example, but I just know there's been those situations where it's like, well, how are you going to word that? Where you tell them, be like, it's just for this, but it's really for this, if you know what I mean. So hopefully that helps out a little bit. But like I said, if you guys got any other questions, throw them in there. Plus, I see we got 13 likes. I appreciate the likes. That's great. We got above 10 on a Sunday. It's amazing. So, but anyways, like I said, if you guys got any other thing, I might just babble on about something here. But otherwise, yeah, I'll get a few more. We'll get a few more 10, 15 minutes, unless we can think of something else to kind of brainstorm on. But these are some really good questions. But like I said, with that whole service spring and stuff like that, I might retract, and I might just go back to, I might just change my, if I can, if nothing's too buried in, just change it into, or just word it differently. There's always different ways to, there's always more than one way to skin a cat. And, the thing is that, I always looked at it like if I was to do, like, if they got so picky, right? Like, so let's say like ABC Roofing, right? They don't have to have the contractor part because they just sell the product, right? Now, they still get on roofs and drop shingles off and stuff like that. But there's different levels to this stuff, if that makes sense. So you just got to find a different level to be at, and then maybe provide that service that's kind of, yeah, it's a little on the, but I'm telling you, like, for some of you guys, that's why I'm playing around with some of this stuff. I'm sitting there going, I don't understand why I wouldn't. Like, why did I put so much effort into trying to get with all these vendors when, I mean, I was talking to Josh down in Indiana, man. And I'm like, where'd you get that? I think he was getting springs. I'm like, where'd you get that? Amazon. What? You got garage door springs off Amazon? What? And so I look at this stuff and I'm going, oh my gosh, this stuff is going to become so common, so saturated in a sense that like in a nutshell, right? I mean, this is just going through my head. Correct me if I'm wrong a little bit here. There's been multiple times that I'll ask the wife for something and I'm like, maybe I'll go to the store. And I'm like, and I tell her, I go, I'm like, well, how fast can you get it? And she's like, next day? And I'm like, next day? I'm like, why in the hell would I want to go to the store with my gas and my wear and tear on my tires and the potential with the knuckleheads out there getting into an accident, go stand there, walk in the store, to find out if their inventory was wrong, or I didn't check the inventory to find out they don't have it, to walk up to the register, or to try to find some help that's going to be just some snot-nosed kid that's going to be like, I'm going to walk in there and do the whole, like, I know more than you. And, you know, then deal with the register. They got to walk across the parking lot. And then you got to load up your, you know, put it in your vehicle. Then you got to drive back to whatever you're doing. Oh, heck no. I can have it next day. I'll find something else to do. And it's going to be delivered to your doorstep for darn near like the same price. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, these are some things I'm kind of thinking about going, for somebody starting out, I go, you got it made. You got it made, man. Like, you know, now there's stuff that adds up, right? You want to start getting bigger and stuff. Yeah, you got to start getting the big boy stuff and insurance and all that and commercial and all that. But for just starting out, like I said, you could run around all day in a truck and have people buy their own stuff. Just guide them. Say, here, I'll send you a link, right? How many times do you guys do it? I do it all the time. I find stuff on Amazon. I'm not the Amazon buyer. Just send it to the wife, right? Goes off to her. She orders it. I say, hey, get it, don't get it. These are notes. And, away you go. You can do the same thing with a customer. Here you go. You know what I mean? And then it's not coming out of your account, right? You're not even dealing with it. You don't have to be out no money. You don't have to be out where the customer goes, I don't feel like paying, blah, blah, blah. All right, go stiff yourself. Well, you know, at least you're out the labor, right? But you're not out the material. Because I've been there, right? I've done that with doors. I had a contractor through a buddy, did the door, didn't pay us for it went on for like, I don't know, a couple of years. I think it went on for 3 years. I had to go to went through all the attorney stuff. Now, if it was just the guy would have paid for the door, I probably wouldn't have cared so much. It's my labor. It sucks. It is what it is. It's the point, right? It was the point. But I was like, this guy got my labor and he's got my garage door they didn't pay me for. You know, and I probably spent more money in legal fees than it would have been just to let it go. You know, and then when I got it back in 3 years, now I got to use the door. You know what I'm saying? These are just things to think about. Just things to think about. You know, this customer we went to, purchased, had a nice enclosed trailer. The product all worked. They paid for it. They were happy. They got their rebates or whatever. If I go to stack the door, door's got a scratch. Not my problem. Door's got a dent. I don't know if some of you guys are anything like me, but I've had the heart pounding where I look down and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's got a scratch. Oh my gosh, it's got a dent. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? You know, was it me? Was it the driver? Was it one of my guys? Was it, I heard something fall in the truck. Was it something that hit the door? Now you look at it and go, I don't know what happened. It's got a scratch in it. Guess you better talk to, you know what I'm saying? So now you're getting yourself, what I'm trying to portray in that, instead of you having to go down the road of possibly eventually having to hire a secretary because you're just going to this point of going, oh my gosh, I can't handle all this. I got people calling me. They want to know when I'm going to get this door replaced. They're going to sell their house. They need to have this to close on their house. You know, once you start branching out where maybe you just go, let me know when it's in. I'll put you in the schedule. You know what I mean? And now they got to go to the store. They got to get a discount. Maybe they get a discount. They don't do it. They do get another section comes in. You know what I mean? Let them go fight for you. They are now working for you in a sense. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Where you're not having to run out and do all that stuff. You don't have to take it back to your shop. You don't have to wait for the vendor and then put it on their truck, or you're not there or whatever. No. You're just labor. Poof. And like I said, some of this stuff is changing so fast and rapidly. And Rich, I don't know. I should bring this up. I don't know if this is what made the difference or not. I'm still trying to wonder. Like, I haven't really put my head around it. Wrapped my head around it. I sprayed the inside of that plastic tube for that Menards door. That door was so quiet. And I don't know if that's what made the difference. I don't know if Menards has changed something. I sprayed the outside too, but I've had so many with those easy set springs that you go to pick that door up and it goes, and it's like, oh. Now in the past, I've sprayed the rollers, or the bearings, I'm sorry. I've sprayed the springs down to where they're probably dripping. I never sprayed the inside before. I sprayed the inside. I couldn't believe how quiet this door was. Super, super quiet. I mean, so Rich, I see you says thank you. But Rich, I want to know if that's what you meant. Am I missing something? Because I'm trying to think when the spring, I still don't know. But all I know is that thing was smooth as butter. I couldn't believe it. Now I did find that her husband did the other two doors on a detached garage, and guess what happened? The bearing popped out. That common bearing to pop out on those Easy Set. I'm supposed to go back there. I'm gonna fix it at some point. But I did my best to make sure I slammed everything. I found even a loosey-goosey, where I popped it, that shaft, that hollow shaft, and I found the other side was slacked a little bit and got her tight, snug. So, but no, thank you, Rich, for bringing that. To be honest, I thought it was like, I don't know if this is what he meant by spraying the inside of that plastic tube, but that was a game changer, man. I mean, the door, I just couldn't believe. I went to lift it up and it was like that disappointment. I was like waiting for the disappointment. I'm like, yep, here we go. Good old Easy Set Menards. Yep, here you go. And then it was like, I lifted it and I'm like, did you hear that? I had my daughter with me. She's like, I didn't hear nothing. I'm like, it's a miracle. And I couldn't even do it, right? Because you got to put all that stuff together. I couldn't even do it. I was like, I'm going to leave the other one. I'm not going to do the other one. See if that, I'm like even looking at the plastic inside and I'm like, they must have redesigned this. Something changed. Something changed. What'd they do? Now I can tell you, I don't know. This could be in my imagination. They did, I feel like I used to take the pointy screws. I like pointy screws. I like pointy screws that are real coarse thread. And I would burn those puppies into that shaft and that coupler for the torsion tube. I couldn't do it this time. The shaft was so thick. I felt like the shaft material was thicker than what we typically buy just from like Service Spring. Because I know, maybe you guys have experienced this now. I think it was when we bought some from Service Spring. I remember Cap having a problem with them. And he would tighten them down, and the metal was so soft that it actually let the drums spin. So I feel like he reverted, and he had to buy them through like Wayne Dalton or somebody, like actually a garage door company versus Service Spring. I can't remember if that's for sure how I remember it, but something was going on, and he's like, he had two of them, and he's like, he's doing like the whole like, dude, this ain't my first rodeo. He's like, but I've had two now that spun on me, and I'm like, what? I'm like, no. But that steel that they use for those Ideals, those Easy Set, I couldn't burn through them. Man, I even used a self-tapper. The self-tapper broke the tip off. So I went to a drill to drill through the steel. And then I put two in there. I think some of you guys said you threw bolt them. I didn't through bolt it. I just used zip screws, the pointies. Oh, man, that steel was tough, man. I was dripping sweat off me. Perfect. So Rich says yes. So I'm glad. So Rich, what do you mean? It says, did you have the white loop on it? What's the white loop? If you're talking about the lube, I used fluid film. That's all I had. I wanted to use white lithium grease, but I didn't have none available. So I figured the one stuff's real sticky, made for like undercoating and that. But I figured anything's better than nothing. But man, was it quiet. Oh, duh. Now that Tony said something, I got it. The white loop. I'm glad you brought that up. So, the loops that hold on, keep the shaft from ever popping off, I didn't put them on. And let me know if you guys have experienced otherwise. I mean, hook me up, man, because I've never had them pop out. I'm not saying they can't. I don't know why they would ever pop out. But I want to bring up, so yeah, I see Tony and Rich. Yes, I know the loops, the little round loops, and you put them onto a bolt. Keeps the shaft taut down. I didn't put them on this one. I still could. I left them there. I still could. I ended up looking at the pivot point where the bolt was, and it didn't look like it was a good spot. Like, to me, it was like, I looked like I'd be better off putting it down farther and drilling. Then I was like, well, how am I going to do that? If I drill, I almost need like a bolt with a washer. Because they only give you a couple different points to bolt, And when I looked at it, I just thought, I kind of did like I've never done it before. I've never had a problem with it. So let me know if you have an experience problem, because I'll put them on. I mean, I'm like one of those things too. I'm like, why do they provide them if they're not important? But what I did experience, and I ended up I about pooped my pants after I figured out what was going on. The cradle wasn't in. It was on the front part, right? The part I could see for the one that winds the spring. So I did the one door, no problem. I did the second door. The cradle wasn't in there all the way. It was crooked a little bit. So the backside wasn't in the thing. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm winding it. And I use the thing. I like using it. Actually, after I used the screw gun, I was kind of like, I like this. Because I don't have to undo anything. I just screw it, test it. It still needs a little more. Screw it some more. I was like, this is pretty nice. You know, now that I'm getting older, it's like, I'm like, this ain't bad. And anyways, it wasn't that cradle. And something was acting wonky with it. And I was like, man, why is this thing? It acted like it wanted to pop out of the cradle. And it did. It popped up a little bit. And I was like, whoa. I was like, what the? You know, so I pushed it back down and it sat. And I got this thing pretty much loaded too. You know, here I am screwing with it, right? And I'm like, the other one didn't do this. I'm like, but I bumped the spring out like a 1/4 inch. Like I was like, a little extra room. When I tightened down the set screws, I was like, a little 1/4 inch ain't gonna hurt. The other one I did right wherever it sat. I just tightened it down. But I thought, give it a little more breathing room, right? And I thought, man, that 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch that I must have bumped it out is what's screwing this thing up. So I'm gonna have to so I undid it, right? I was starting to unscrew it. Of course, I had the drill on high, so that's not good, right? So I'm like, ooh, I need to slow her down before I burn this puppy up. Because who knows what kind of lube they really put in there. And so I slow it down. And then for whatever reason, I realized my finger slid down or something. And I'm like, holy crap, this thing's not in the cradle. And then my brain went to, oh, you should put those white tabs on. Like if those white tabs were on, at least it would have saved me to some degree. And so luckily I undid it. I got it cradled back in there. Then it was fine. Didn't move at all. But I see, let's see what you guys got here. So Tony says, you always want to put the white loops on. Okay. They should still be there. I left the hardware box. I'll put them on. I ain't gonna lie, I did it out of pure laziness. I was like, I've never done, I almost did it for more like beta testing. Now, the one thing that was always weird to me, which is always weird, is I know they do it on the bigger doors, but they don't do it on the smaller doors. Like this was a 9x7. They don't do the little cradle, the little black cradle. Now, I personally went out and bought them or found them at the shop, because sometimes we collect a few of them, to put on there, right? Because that bar is always kind of little saggy-ish. And it just, my mind goes to, it needs a cradle. It needs a cradle. Now, I know it's not the end of the world. It works. But it's always a good, like, shows you kind of what extreme they can go to, even when they got a little womp to them. But I'm always like, why don't they send a cradle for this? I'm like, they do for the 16x7s. I'm like, why can't we just get a cradle? It's a piece of plastic. God darn it. Which worked out good for this one because their mounting pad was goofy. Somebody tried shimming it. It was goofy. It says drill through and use a bolt and nut. And he says, I don't trust a screw. That's what I was kind of thinking. So what happens? Is it basically when the spring breaks, eventually does it pop out? This is Tony holds the shaft on. It says go back and put them on. Usually pop out when the spring, oh, right there, Rich says, usually pops out when the spring breaks. Gotcha. Extra noisy, that Nathan says. Says, I'm a firm believer. He says they're pointless. I agree, but I agree too that I think, like Rich says here, that when they break, I could see now the force. Because I kept thinking, well, they're always kind of tugging down. And I'm always like in my head, I'm like, but why? But why did they do it? There is a reason. And since they don't clip, because every time I always look at them, I always feel like they should clip into that piece of metal. So I was even sitting there with my fist kind of pounding it. And I'm like, I've done this many a times, but I'm just like, this time it's going to clip. Like I'm missing something, especially when it jumped up. And I was like, man, that scared me. I was like, why did that jump up like that? I was like, you should have put the plastic clips on, you dumb. I was like, that's why they're on there. And I'm like sitting there looking at it. And I'm like, I don't understand what the heck's going on here. Why would this thing want to pop out of here? But you think about all the force on there, and if that thing was to lift for whatever reason, boing, something could happen. So definitely, I'll put them on. If they're still there, I'll put them on. Believe they are pointless. He says Tony, it's all about safety, Nathan. He says, and Dave and callbacks. Come on, boys. That is very true, man. Those callbacks. I'm gonna just see if we got those plastic clips. Come on, Light. We used to carry a couple in here, but I'm always like, I want my cradle to sit. You know what I mean? Like to sit on that. Because that's always like the saggy part. Actually, we got two of them just in stock. Those little bad boys. We normally take them from other doors. One thing I don't think we ever have those. We don't have those white clips. So hopefully they'll still be there. Hopefully. So I'll definitely put them on. But yes, callbacks are a... But you know what was weird too? Which is like, maybe some of you guys, it sounds like a few of you guys have done these. I've never had this happen before, and I don't know what the reason for it was. So we opened up the one hardware box, and they had extra hardware in there. And so I opened up the one hardware box. I did the door. And I'm like, well, it must be, she told me that these things are in stock. And I was thinking, so I don't know how this would even happen, but I don't know. Weirder things in my life has happened before. So it's probably just, these are, so I had a whole hardware box or bag full of rollers, hinges, bottom brackets, and top fixtures. That was all in one bag. But in the box loosely, there's all the same parts, you know what I mean? So I had double, and I'm thinking, okay, well, this one must be for the second door. Like somebody stuffed this in here. I don't know how they would because everything's sealed, but I was like, I'm not going to get too excited. So I was like, and then I thought, well, maybe she upgraded, but from what I understand, we didn't upgrade. So I'm like, I don't know. These are just for the other door. Well, got to the second door. The other door's got the same thing. It's got extra hardware in it. And I'm like, holy yabadoo. I'm thinking, whoever gives you, this is a lot of hardware. I don't get no extra hardware from any of all the big primetime vendors, right? It's like, typically I'm always short track bolts. You got to provide your own 5/16 bolts. You got to, I'm just sitting there just going, oh, both boxes gave us extra rollers, hinges. I'm like, I told her, I was like, you got extra. I was like, these rollers start puking out, start making noise after about 5 years. I was like, you got an extra set of hinges or rollers right here. I was like, might as well keep them. I was like, throw those in there. I thought, well, dang, this is better than, and it came with an operator bracket, which I was surprised. I was like, wow, it comes with, had foot pegs in there. Didn't have a slide lock, but I was like, it didn't have a strut. I ended up doing, but I was just like, dang. I was like, the doors were pretty light because I think they're like 1 3/4 inch thick, but they're all good because it's really Clopay, you know what I mean? And I was pretty impressed. Tony says, okay, Dave, he says, but think about this no cradle. It says for the center. So that means your shaft is smiling. It is. If you don't have pieces on, he says, guess what is going to pop off? He says, oh, just giving you a hard time. Well, the thing is with that shaft, I have no doubt that's not good for it, right? Because when it's rotating, it's constantly always going to be putting pressure on those screws, right? Those nuts and bolts. And that's maybe why, I think some of you guys, I thought somebody recommended they through bolt them or do something. So, that's in my theory, right? That over time with it wobbling, smiling, that shaft, those screws are gonna fall out, and that'll be a failure point at some point. So if you could find, something I just thought of. I've done this on other things, right? For like if you don't have collars, I've if you don't have collars for like your center adjustable bearings, adjustable center shafts. I'm saying it right way wrong. But anyways, on commercial doors, I've literally taken not duct tape, electrical tape, and wrapped them or wrapped it behind it so the keyway couldn't come out. Basically, even though it might come loose, it's just a second chance. Why couldn't I take some electrical tape and wrap around? Now it's gonna look pretty ugly and be kind of sinful looking. You know, customer will be like, "What is that?" You know, that's just some good old electrical tape. Put electrical tape around it. You could put hose clamps. Hose clamps look. I've done hose clamps on commercial doors. I do them more where the eye isn't, right? Not residential where somebody looks up and goes, "My God, is this guy a plumber?" You know what I'm saying? But I'm just sitting here in my head going, "Hey, why would it hurt to have a couple nuts? You know, your screws don't fall out." Now, probably in a perfect world, a nylon bolt, through bolt it would probably be the best. I can't think of anything else better besides like welding it, or just get a solid shaft. You know. Rich says that's where I put them. But I'm assuming, Rich, on those smaller doors, you're not getting the cradle, right? Because when I was there, my theory was that her husband, since he installed the other ones, he went through the instructions, and I said, hey, could you go out there and see if your husband has like a cradle in the center, like a black thing? And she's like, yeah. So she went out there and she's like, there's nothing there. It's just, you know, just like yours. And I'm like, I'm like, okay. Because I was doing the whole thing, like I was like, did I drop it? I do it every time I'm working with those doors. Every time they get me on smaller doors, I'm always like, where's the cradle? Where's the cradle? And then it's like, do you go get one? Do you go buy one? I don't even know if you can buy them at the store. Does anybody know that you can buy them at Menards? I think you got to buy them offline probably. Or I try to save them from old doors that get tore out. I know. And I was thinking, Tony's got here. He's like, hell yeah, it says extra hardware. He says, you got to love that money. I know. And I was thinking like, that certain product, I don't particularly want, but I thought if somebody was just starting out, you know, like they're trying to build a vehicle or a service, and I thought, well, heck yeah, right here, at least you got some hinges and rollers, you got some hardware to kind of get you going. Or like I said, it just worked out good for the customer. I'm like, hey, throw these up in the rafter. They'll probably never remember and never do it. But I just thought if they're there and they do remember and they're like, you know, actually, or you're the guy that comes back in 5 years and he's like, this door is really noisy. And you're like, hey, you know what? All you got to do today is pay me a service call, and I'm gonna change out those rollers are still up in that rafter, right? Yeah, they are. I'm gonna put some new rollers. And it was weird because after I was doing it, I realized that those hinges aren't real prone to cracking on smaller doors. It's the bigger doors because they got the cheaper hinges. And I was showing the lady, I said, right here, I said, normally the stress crack they get and they'll break. Now, what just come across my brain right now, never thought about this before, but I was just wondering if you put a strut in every section, if those hinges would not want to break because now the door is not always, it's still weight on them, don't get me wrong, but I don't know if it's the bending of the section a little bit that's putting that torque on those hinges and that's why they crack. That would be a good experiment. So just fixed a 9x7 that was snagging with the left old center bracket. He says, and it started to cut it. Wow. He says, old center bracket, and it was starting to cut it. Yeah, he says you can buy them at Menards. Oh, so Tony, you can buy just that bracket, that black one. That's pretty cool. I didn't know if you could buy that. I'm sure you can buy the springs and all that. And that's why I kind of explain and see what gets me a little nervous is that I told her, I said, you're married into this product now. And I said, so the cheaper way, I said, in the future is going to be to use their spring. And I said, honestly, I don't know if they got this spring in stock. I said, because I said, this is a door, with windows, and I said, so like, I know the standard stuff, the 9x7, not insulated, all that stuff. They got that kind of stuff typically, but are they going to have this? And I said, and I said, the problem is, I said, somebody's going to come in here. They're going to say, we need to do a torsion spring conversion. And it's going to be, probably $300-$400. And you're going to be like, but I can buy the spring for $45, $65 or whatever they're cost now, $85. Why do I want to spend, and they're going to come in here and wipe all this stuff out. Now, I don't know for sure, but just kind of glancing at it when I was out, you know how it is, guys, when you're out there and you're sweating to death and you're just, you're like, you don't pull out a tape measure and look at it. But my brain was still thinking about it when I was gazing up at it, when I was on the ground putting something together. And I kept thinking to myself, like, do they need as much headroom? And I thought, well, they're a smaller drum. So I kept thinking it's like the whole, kind of like the Torque Master. The Torque Master, what, needs like 10 and a half? I don't know. I don't think we have a chart here. 10 and a half inches. And I was looking at those, and I went, they got the smaller. Now, the one thing I think they could do a little better at, I feel like, my opinion, is that I kind of wish they had a smaller cable and a drum that was designed for that, a smaller cable with the grooves, maybe smaller, whatever, because, man, their cable still has not changed, and it's so heavy duty. And I like the idea of a heavy duty cable. It's going to maybe last longer, but man, when you got to wrap it and put it in there on that little drum, what a job. And then try to wrap it around and then deal with their, like, and then I thought I was going to have a heart attack because Allens have not been my friend lately. I need to buy another set. My wife, bless her heart, she bought a set. We didn't have clear communication, and she bought the ones that are like the ones that flip, like they're in a little pocket thing or whatever, and they flip up. And I was like, no. I was like, no, honey, please, that's not what I wanted. She's like, it was a 3-pack. It came with, I think it had like ones that had like screwdriver sets or something. And I'm like, that's great. And she's like, I can return them. And then we didn't return them. And then it's like, I'm like, I need standard ones. I like standard ones. The ones with a little ball on the bottom and then the standard on the top. And I haven't really found if anybody's got like a really good set that they're like, man, these work even better. Because, sometimes that little curve, a little bit on the short side. So even for in there, getting the drum, it was a little on the short side. I've tried the ones with the T's, but I feel like I can't get the torque on them. Maybe I need to go with like a set that's got extended, but it's for a ratchet. That might work. I didn't even think of that. That might work better, like a 3/8 ratchet where I could have, But anyways, I was panicking. I was doing the like, oh my gosh, I don't have Allen's. And I was like, if I don't have Allen wrenches, I'm done. And I thought, oh no, Menards is smart. They put them in the package probably somewhere. I looked. They don't. They send you a little adapter for that screw for winding the spring, which I was like, why do they send this? And I thought, oh, because that goes in a chuck of a drill, and then somebody could. And I don't think it was the same size. No, I tried. I checked it, and I was like, it wouldn't fit. And I was like, oh no. So I went through my hardware box, whatever, my toolbox, and they were both in there. And I found the one. I found metric, and I'm like, metric. At least we got something. Is standard in there? We're standard. And I was digging and I found it. I was like, we got both. We're all set. Now it's like, you look at them always, right? You always look, I'm not missing one, am I? Because the one I'm missing is going to be the one I need. And they were all there, so. Yeah, you can buy them at Menards. Yes, you can. $5. $5? That's it. $5. I might have to go get. I might take these ones and go get a couple more. The problem was, I don't think it was me because on the second door, the guy did his looked like 9x7 doors. I didn't check, but his looked like his bracket was like boom in the center. My pipes, the way I laid them out, I kept laying them out. I'm like, I can't make this. Like I had to chop 6 inches off or something because they were way too long because I have 2 doors and they're gonna smash. And then of course on the one side I got a box, I got a covered, built-in cupboard type thing. And so, but it was off. My first one I did. And I was like, it's like, whatever. It don't really matter. Whatever, it's fine. And the second one I went to, I was like, well, maybe I can do better. What did I do wrong? Did I not look at something? The way I kept looking at it, I laid the pipes down and I'm thinking, there's no way. I just don't have enough pipe on this one to get it to be in the center. So I said, well, it is what it is, man. I guess we're rolling this way. I don't know what to do here. I might have evaluated something wrong. I was just sitting here trying to think about that. Maybe if I would put a long pipe on one side, I don't know. Something happened though. Roller hinges, seal, torsion spring, easy set springs, easy set, wine house, etc. You can buy it all there at Menards. Wow, that's pretty nice. Like I said, you go in there and bada bing, bada boom. You got everything you need. And so, I mean, like I said, this is just great stuff. Like I said, for some of us more seasoned vets, Professional guys, yeah, you know, we gotta stick with our vendors. But if you're just starting out, like I said, man, I look at this and I go, hey, this would not stop me, man. If I was doing if I just was starting out going to residential, I'd be going to the box stores all day long. I'd be tearing them up. I'd be making the customers. I'd be like, yeah, you can order it too. Sure, go ahead. And like, don't focus so much on the product, right? Your money's in typically the labor. You might, some of us have obviously markup in some of our material, but you're the labor really. You're the pro. You're the tech. And like I said, then you're not out no money either. You know what I mean? So if you're worried about, if you're just starting out and you're flipping money, and it's like, man, now I got to get these doors done. I got to get these doors done because I just, put out $400, $600, $800, $1,200, $2,000. Oh my gosh, and then the beautiful part is it's all on them. You don't come out and install something, go, well, that's not quite the shade of black I thought it was going to be, and you're like, what are we going to do? Can't cancel it. Please don't cancel it. No, you're just like, I don't know. I wasn't at the store. I didn't pick them out. I mean, if you want, like, whatever, man, I can leave. I got other stuff I can do. You can shove them back in or take them back. You want to deal with all that crap in lumberyard or whatever, and I feel like people feel invigorated by it to some degree, right? They feel embraced because I have a minivan or I maybe have a pickup truck and I go pick them up. You know what I mean? So that's fine. And that worked out great because honestly, I kept thinking I don't have to deal with the mess for the cleanup. I took the cardboard, wrapped it up as nicely as I could, placed it off to the side. I said, see you later, alligator. Metal. She was like, what do we do? And I was like, well, you can call a scrapper, people all the time. And then it was like, all of a sudden the light bulb, right? Oh, it's metal? I can take it back? We've been taking all kinds of stuff. We're redoing a house, blah, blah. Yeah, you can take it back. Get a few bucks. Oh, yeah, we took it back a bunch of aluminum, blah, blah. I mean, just more than happy, right? There you go. There you go. Have at it. And a lot of people don't realize, I realize it, and I understand it's part of the job sometimes. And some people don't want that, right? They just want to pay for it and they want it out of their life. But some people have more time on their hands and maybe money or whatever, or they just value money differently or whatever. And they'll do stuff, right? They're gonna cut it up, they're gonna burn it, they're gonna make a plank out of it, they're gonna make a boat out of it. I don't know, but that's not your problem. You know what I mean? Because that stuff is what can really, like, that was stuff I didn't pay attention to a lot of. That cost you a lot. You know what I mean? The stuff behind the scenes, right? You got to wait for the truck. The truck's showing up today. Well, what time's the truck going to be here? Well, they'll call you. Well, when they call me, son of a biscuit, man. Like, I got to go out and do a job. So you go out and do a job, right? Of course, you're in the middle of it. Maybe you're 15, 20, 30 minutes, an hour, whatever it is. Shouldn't be that any farther. Truck calls, you got to drop what you're doing. You got to run back. You know what I'm saying? So like you're making these little, how do I say it? You're making little helpers. Little helpers are helping you, right? They're going out there, they're selecting, they're dealing with the colors. You don't have to, you don't have to deal with a secretary with all that stuff, putting all that stuff together. They're like your employees in a sense, and you're just showing up as like, I got this. You know what I mean? I know how to mingle this or make this work, right? I'm sure it's kind of like a mechanic, right? He'd like to work on all Chevys or those Duramaxes like Tanner. He says, but sometimes a Kia comes in, so you got to be able to adapt, and as long as you can adapt and make it work, customers probably going to be happy. What was a bummer though? I wanted to mention this because Tony says, you can buy all these hubs, etc., blah, blah. It's a black door. You can't get black weather seal. Like a special order. And I looked through like 3 different stores in this area, and nobody carries black. And I was just like, man, it's like that's getting to be kind of a common trend. Like, I don't know. I'm starting to see more people use the black garage doors. I'm thinking, why don't nobody got black trimming? You sell the doors are in stock that are black, but we don't have black weather seal? Come on, man. Like you can't, like weather seal takes up very little space compared to garage doors. Like what's the gimmick here? Are they just not caught up so they go, whoever's in charge of that division goes, maybe we should start carrying black weather seal. That'd be a good sales tactic. Probably would. Tony's got, he says, usually when a spring breaks, with clips. It says, and winding hub will break so. Ooh, the winding hub. Yeah, so I've had to buy spring and winding hub, which is about 170 total. Ooh. Rich has got it here. He says, Tony, very true. Awesome. Thanks. Thank you. Thank you, Tony, for bringing. That's. I can't say. I think I have remember one breaking on me. It's probably because sometimes we do the conversion on them, but I feel like I remember one did break. Like the clip wasn't right. I think one clip was working, and I probably shouldn't have done it. And I was like, it'll be fine. It's in there. It's not clipped good, but it'll be fine. It's not going anywhere. And it might have failed. It might have worked. Never got a call back. I remember about it, but that's a good point. That's a good point. It almost makes it worth, if you're going to the store, you might want to get that because you might overlook that. You know, maybe you measure the spring or whatever, and you're not there to take it apart. Especially depending on how far the store is, you know, all that kind of stuff. Because that stuff is like always that weird line, right? Like, you know, and I still, my instinct goes to just, I'm doing a spring conversion. You know what I mean? Because I've had the bearings fall out. I don't know why. It's like they're like that Bic lighter, man. You know what I mean? And it's like once they've gone past their cycle, it's like, I'm done with these. I'm gonna do a spring conversion on this, and you're gonna live with that. Because I've done that before. I'm thinking, okay, well, it's only $45 for a spring. The store has it in stock. I've tried saving them money, and it seems like when I've tried saving them money, it really burned me. But of course, when I was doing it, right, I had 10, 20 other jobs going on behind me, so it wasn't like I could spend the time to be like, you know, whatever, I'll charge, you know, a little extra. It was like, this is costing me so much. I'm picking up pennies here while dollars are passing me by. But that's really cool. I'm glad you brought that up because I can see that force. Tony says you do need to know your competitors as big bucks stores prices, so you have an idea when customer tells you they can get a cheaper somewhere else, you have something you can come back with. Big box stores. Yeah, I've always had a lot of box store people. You know, they've literally walked in this door, right, and they'd be like, you're $100 higher than what I can buy. And I you know, there's ways to like coach people and explain to them and say, you know, hey, you know, here's why. I'm going to use better hardware. Mine's coming with weather seal. Like those are some things that people don't recognize, right? Because they go there, they call there, but they're forgetting to, you're not adding taxes. So taxes, add that. You know, you're not including weather seal. You're not including better rollers, better hinges, possibly a strut. This one came with a opener bracket. But like I said, it's just, I'm sitting here and I'm really trying to put myself in that position of, I'm a newbie. I'm just starting out. What's stopping me? What's going to stop me? And I sit here and I go, golly, I didn't have this stuff when I started out with Amazon. Golly, I didn't, you know, like, why was I pushing so hard for, like, I got to get with, like, if I, you know, I think we have the envision, at least I did at one point, where it's like, if you think, because I get with this certain vendor, or if I get this certain certificate, this is going to, like, people are going to come running to you. And when you can kind of micromanage it down to, like, when you go do stuff, like when you walk into a store, like, do you like read all the fine print or whatever? Not normally. Like, we all buy stuff from China. And like, you're just looking for the best price, right? And do whatever kind of job you're trying to do. And it depends on what you're doing, right? You know, like you're just eating some food from fast food, yeah, plastic fork works fine. But you don't want plastic forks at home for your constant use all the time, right? Maybe like power tools. So it all depends on what kind of layers we're doing, I guess, in a sense. So you just got to kind of understand that most time the customers, you know, there's a lot of people that just want deals. You know, they want deals, and if you can work with them, and the biggest thing with customers really is really just being honest with them, being upfront, good communication, good call, good text, good whatever, email, however they like to communicate. and just explain the situation, what's going on. Most of the time, it goes pretty good, and you gotta use your gut. Like I said, if you get one that feels wonky, and you're like, man, this person's not communicating correctly, or they're saying the wrong stuff, then just tell them, you know what, especially if you're not too far in, just say, you know what, I'm really sorry, but we are super busy, or I really don't think I'm gonna be a good fit for you. You might want to try to call this person. I've heard a lot of good feedback through secretaries and stuff. It's always good to have somebody to recommend. It seems like people appreciate that more than just being like, I don't want to work for you. Call somebody else. Does that make sense? So true, Dave. You can never find black seal perimeter. He says, seal, that is. I know, it's a bummer. There was only one store around here that had 9 foot. I'm like, what are you gonna do with 9 foot? Like, you can't use 9 foot. And then it looks like, now I must say, for some of these people out there, man, I am super, super impressed with Menards website. I mean, when I walked in there and I started talking to the younger kid, and he was showing me, and he like turns the screen and he's like, blah, 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 and I'm like, no, yes, no. And I realized, I'm like, this is the same, I about guarantee this is the same thing I'm looking at home, what he's looking at, because that's what everything seems like it's kind of going to. And so I took his information, I took it home, I reevaluated it, I reconfigured some stuff, and sure enough, I did it right from my home, and I thought, oh my gosh. I went, they've spent, I don't know how much, hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars to make this software so user-friendly, to make it where they're drawing you in, to suck you in, where there's nobody, maybe Service Spring, right? But Service Spring doesn't sell garage doors. Maybe somebody's Service Spring, but there's no vendors that I know of where I go, I mean, my vendor would kick Menards' butt. You know what I mean? Where I went, Menards, I'm sitting here and I'm like, you want this? Click this. And I mean, they're telling you step by step, like telling you, hey, we missed something. You need to go back. Okay, I'll go back. You know what I'm saying? I was just like, wow, this is really like helpful. I don't need to call nobody. I'm sitting here at midnight doing this crap. You know what I mean? I'm sitting here just like, this is great. Give me my prices, tells me what's available, what's not available, this, that. I'm like, wow, this is really nice. And it's not glitchy. And I don't know. I think in my brain, Menards was the best. Maybe Home Depot would be like second, Lowe's maybe third, because Lowe's, I couldn't find Weather Seal worth of crap through Lowe's. I had to call them. And of course, by the time, you know how this goes, right? You call them. I know some of the people there, so I started getting kind of a little pushy. Because I call, it rings, brings me to the front desk. Lady asks, she goes, oh, and she goes, well, she looks in her computer, right? And she goes, it looks like it's hardware. And I said, no, I said, it's probably millwork. I said, that's just, but I don't want to overthrow myself here, whatever. And she goes, okay, so she's ringing hardware. It finally, nobody answers there either, right? It goes back to her, and I'm like, hi, it's me again. I was like, still just trying to check on some Weather Seal. Okay, she rings again. Finally goes back to her again. I'm just sitting there just like, And so I'm like, I said, is Tom not in tonight? I'm trying to act like I'm like maybe a GM, or I'm the regional sale. Like now I'm getting ticked. Like I'm like, and she's like, oh well, he might have went home early tonight. And I'm like, figures, yep. And this is why computers are replacing everything, because he went home, and it's not, there's 20 minutes before they close. And I'm like, okay. She goes, well, is there something maybe I can help you with? And I said, okay. Well, I said, this is what I'm looking for, and I already had it all laid out. And she's looking, and she's like, she was really nice actually on her half. And she said, she goes, we don't stock. We can get it, but we don't stock it. All we have is the white. And I said, okay, that's fine. That's all I want to know. I said, because I swore I was in somewhere and I seen it sitting there. I was like, wow. I was like, they got black Weather Seal. That's amazing. I was like, I don't ever see that. And I couldn't remember where it was at. Maybe they still had it. She couldn't find it in their system. So today, sorry guy, text my problem is I can't see small print. Oh, it's all good. It's all good. You have to tell them you're not only buying the product, you are getting service along with it. True. So Rich has got a good point, and which is good and bad. right? I also tell them, say, you know, like basically there's no warranty. So you have to understand that if you go buy this and I install this, now I usually have a reason with it. Obviously, if they send me a picture or something, I can tell it's, you know, but basically, hey, if this puppy has a problem, you're going to pay me a service call, you know, within it, let's say a year. You're going to pay me a service call, come out. My service calls or whatever you charge, 45, 65, 120, whatever, you know. So you start adding this up, you saved $100, but I'm going to warranty this thing. And some people like that. Some people are like, I'll take my chances. So that's also good, you know, and there's all different ways you can spin it. But it's just one of those things where I go, if you're not a good salesperson or you don't have the product behind you, you know, you might just say, you know what, hey, I can start something. I can just start, you know, I use the box stores and I can tell them where to go and where to get them if they're okay with it. And you're going to get some blowback on some. Some are going to be like, you know, well, why don't you have something or whatever? Tell them, say the products are changing so much. I have to sell, you know, 500,000 a year, and I'm not at that point yet. I don't sell that much volume. Tony, so true, Rich. He says, I always tell them, you're not paying for my time, you're paying for my experience. If they question me, that I agree with that so much. That I think Tony's so right with that. You really are. Michael says, how's your day? My day's great. I hope you guys are having a great day too. Or great evening or night or morning. I don't know. But you know, it's still a little bit of a hard thing to relay to people. Like I said, it kind of goes back to that whole photo eye where like you might have to do it as like a preventative maintenance. I've ran into that where people still just, I mean, I can't tell you how many people I had that seemed like they were irked. I remember this one lady, I don't think she was really older, but man, I went out there, fixed her garage door, I remember, and it was a twisted photo eye, and of course it's one of those garbage cans sitting right next to it, so I knew exactly what happened. Went there, I fixed it. I was in a rush too, you know, it was one of those jobs where I was just like, I really didn't want to do this. And I told her, I said, you know, I got it fixed for you, it's this much, right? She calls back like, it was like in the same day. And I'm like, what? So I go back out there and I'm like, I don't remember if I charged her. I was going to charge her half price. But this time I told her. So I told her the first time. I said, would you like to come out and see? And she was like on the phone. She's like, no. Here, whatever, you know, credit card, whatever it was. And so the second time I'm like, okay, like I can't, you know, like I want to show you what's going on. Like this garbage can is the problem. Like, and so finally the second time she came out, but she just acted irked about it. You know what I mean? And I'm like, man, I'm like, I want to show you. So if this happens again, come out here. And so it's just those darn garbage cans. So true, Dave. He says, so true. It's the same. And not only that you order it from home, you don't even have to go in the store. He says you go right to the gate and pull into the pickup. Buy tons of non-insulated doors. There you go, man. I'm telling you. You know. Yeah, I never thought about it. Now they got that like easy checkout or something. It's like a self-scan. So I mean that makes sense too. You pay for it online. Like I said, the box stores are really just crushing it to some degree. Yeah, I mean their product has some flaws. It's not 100%, but I tell you what, to keep your prices down and the convenience, and if it's something where you know you could, I don't know if anybody knows even what like Menards would charge to deliver a garage door to a job site, relatively local, obviously. I don't know what they charge. I don't know if it's like 65, 120, or $200, but that way, if you didn't even want to go there and deal with that, and the customer goes, well, I don't really have, because I have had a few that said, well, I have no way to haul that. And I was like, we can get it. We'll get it. You know what I mean? And I didn't even charge for it. And I should have charged for it. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, I should have just been like, you know, but it was kind of weird. Like, I felt like I was like, I definitely got a way to haul that. How would I haul my own? So, but I should have charged, and I didn't. Tony says, through Menards when I need something right away. Nice. Oh, we got the LiftMaster guy. He says, how much do you charge for spring changes? Neighbor who I did my first opener install for called and said their spring is broken. He says, I'm gonna try and put a order in for springs tomorrow. Tony's got here. He says, Lift Master Guy, he says, don't know where you're located. He says, I charge 110 per spring and 100 labor. Yeah, that sounds about right. I was thinking it could be anywhere from, you know, $200, $300, $400. You know, it's kind of the average. Because I mean, what springs used to be, I don't know, 45, 65. I think they've gone up some, you know, 85. Just depends on the size of the spring. What I'm curious though. So let me jump down to this one right here. It says Tony says, I was just gonna go to my local door place here to get them. So, ooh, Rich has got some good stuff too. So what I'm curious though, for the Lift Master Guy, is for one, could you possibly try to see if you can get them on Amazon? Measure them up. I'm assuming you know how to do all that stuff. Measure the springs. Service Spring has a good chart how to do it. Because I'm just curious. Because one, you might be able to get them really fast. You might be able to get them like next day. Now, of course, yes, you can go to your local garage door place. That's fine. Some places, I don't know. I don't know what your garage door place is like. So I don't know what how they do it. Like for us, we're not really that good for that kind of stuff. Like we're good to come out and service you. But for people to come in, can we do it? Yeah. But it's just kind of an inconvenience. And we're going to probably charge you a little bit, maybe more than what you might just buy through something else. 100 labor. He says, I buy my springs from Service Spring. He says, I was just going to go to local. Mr. Guy, always do a pair. Yes, so you always do them as a pair. Don't even try to do one spring. That's a big no-no. If a customer is like that dead set against, I would just probably walk away. I cannot even. I just can't. Like I think I would put a spring clamp on. I'd put a spring clamp on before I would change somebody's spring, just for one side. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. You guys let me know. Like I said, I just cannot like. My brain can't even compute that because it's just the other spring's gonna break and then it turns into this one's got wear on it, this one doesn't. We change this, you know, like you got to date everything really good. Plus, like I said, you got to tear all the stuff back apart anyways. So it seems like it's just pointless. And obviously, if you're doing it cheap enough, it's not going to be fair to you. And if you're charging the fair price, it's not going to be fair to them. That makes sense? Yes. He says, that's right, Rich. He says, keep them in pairs. Rich B agreed. Don't want to have to do it again in a month. Rich B's got, 320, 350. That sounds very fair, right? Right in the ballpark right there. I remember we got in trouble. This was an oil change place, right? And the guy that worked there was always like trying to save the owner money, so we'd take the springs down. And I always remember he'd go over there and like massage the spring and he'd like stroke it. And he's like, what's wrong with this one? I'm like, nothing. I'm like, but that one broke. So this one, yeah, but this one's still good. Right? And I'm like, kind of, but it's kind of not. Like it's still got wear on it. Yeah, but this one's not broke, is it? I remember I'd be like, no, well, let's put this one downstairs. And I'm like, oh, let's not do that. And then I remember a time we'd come again, right? And they'd have that one. And then we started getting into this weird funk, where we would change one and not the other. Well, then eventually went on for like 3 or 4 jobs. And I remember the owner guy called me and he's, we were actually like friends, and he's like, dude, he's like, what is going on? He's like, I got in my notes, you guys just did a repair on this door like three months ago. He's like, and now I'm spending another, $400-600 because they're commercial. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, well, your one guy's been like saving the springs. And like, here's the thing. If we got to do all that work in, we got to dump all the springs. We got to, bring in a scissor lift, ladders, guys, 2 guys, whatever. you know, and he's like, yeah, he's like, screw that. He's like, let's just make sure we're always doing them in a pair. I'm like, I got you. So then I always had to coast that guy into something else. Like we'd take him down there, reorder a pair. That one would be off the side. I'd label the heck out of those things. I'd label on the brand new package. I'd put tags on them. I'd get those white markers that are for like tires. The ones I use, I put a line across and mark on there, used. Because sometimes they look almost new because they're in an oil change place, so they don't get much rust on them. But I made sure I knew they were used, and it was like, do not use these. So we just kind of worked around it because he just seemed like he was never going to understand. I think we got to a point where it was like, I could probably just tell him, take him home. And he'd be like, really? He'd be like, I could make like a cup holder out of this, or I could take this to a scrapyard, or I could put this around the fireplace outside for whatever reason. You know, whatever, dude. Like, we're not using it. It doesn't make financial sense here. We're done. Tony's got, that's pretty good, Rich, for the Chicago area. It's just a 4-inch drum. Rich says, depends on their vehicle. I think I know where we're going with this. Oh, man. It says, Keith Sky says, if you are the tech, it says, don't want the other spring to break while you are changing it. That's true. You could wind it. It could have fractures. I don't know if anybody has has anybody got a better way to describe it? I always just told people, I said, you know, your garage door spring, this I always kind of pitched them. I said, your garage door spring's kind of like, you know, we don't really have metal coat hangers anymore. But anyway, I tell them, I say, your garage door spring's kind of like a metal coat hanger. I was like, you know, if you take a metal coat hanger and just keep bending it and bending it and bending it, eventually it breaks, right? And they're like, yeah. And I always just say, well, you know, your garage door is twisting and twisting. And I said, especially with the hot and cold weather, because it always seems like, is this a fluke? Like, can somebody answer this for me? Like, is this a fluke? It seems like the fall time, when you're getting that warm and you're getting that cold, man, we go through a lot of broken springs. Am I the only one that experiences that? So let me know. Let me know if it seems like the season change is when those springs let loose. Because, man, it seems like fall time. Watch out. Here they come. Mr. Guy, 4-inch something by 285. Tony says, Mr. Guy, take 2.85 weight of door. If I weigh it correctly, it came out to 225 for 16 by 7 insulated. Ooh. I tell people it would be like changing changing one brake pad in your car with one is bad. I'm just wondering if anybody pitches them anything differently. Like, what do you tell them for, like, if it's a one spring? You know what I mean? Like, when I try to explain it to them, at least, I just go, you know, because obviously we do both. You know, I agree. I think that's a great way. You know, it's kind of like the tires or the brakes. You know, you don't change one brake pad, you change both front. People definitely relate to that. But how do you do it if it's a one spring? You tell them, they go, well, why does this happen? So I always try to tell them, because you get the ones that are like those soccer moms, right? And it's like, it's always those garage doors that don't have a man door. And you're like, oh. And you're like, so what are you doing? And they're like, oh, I don't know. Well, my son's here, and then we got the one person and this, and you realize that the door's been opening, you know, opens 8 to 12 times a day, and you're like, oh my gosh. And you're like, I don't understand why it broke. And you're like, well, I used a coat hanger. I'm like, it's a coat hanger. It's like, you know, every time. So if you can stop, like, just use the front door instead of the garage door to go get your newspaper or get your mail, that would help out a lot, you know. Rich says 218, says 1 3/4 by 26. Oh, here we go. It says your IPT is 32, would be a 243 by 2-inch, 36. Ooh, getting some techie stuff here. Or you just act completely dumbfounded and act like no one has ever asked to do just one before. Yeah, if somebody like I said, I can't even, like, my brain doesn't even compute that. Like, I just go, one? Like I said, I'd literally put a spring clamp on it. I'd put some safety glasses on. I'd rewind the spring and be like, there you go. I'd be like, for 75 bucks, the spring clamp was 15, 20 bucks, whatever. My service call is whatever. And there you go. And you're good. You're good for today. I don't know about tomorrow. I don't even really know about tonight. You know what I mean? But because I've had people where we've spring clamped them before. Seems like probably more in the ghetto. And they're like, oh, why don't you just leave that? I'm like, that's not really the correct way. And they're like, yeah, but it's working. Like, just leave it like that. And I'm like, so what I learned, here's a pro tip. Always make sure when you're there doing whatever service it is, get paid. Get paid. Don't wait. Say when we come back, then you can pay me in full. Get paid that day and say, we will apply this to your invoice or to the springs when we replace it. So get a service call out of them, get whatever little bit of material you got out of, like that's today. Because that way it ropes them in that they go, I already paid the other guy $65 or $120, and then I only got to pay another $100 to get it all fixed and done, right? But if you don't get paid, man, I've had it before. I've had people call. They're like, yeah, somebody was out here and they replaced, did a spring clamp. And it's fine. Like we're good. And it's like, no, wait a minute, you're good, but we're not good. We didn't get paid. Like we came out there, our gas, our time. Like, what do you? I ain't gonna pay that. You know what I mean? Or okay, yeah, we'll send something in the mail. That never comes. Now you got to pay a secretary. You got to do it yourself. Got to pay a wife. I don't know if you pay a wife. Anyways, somebody's got to try to track that money down. When you were there, and if they were like, well, I'm not going to pay you, all right, well, I'll take my spring clamp off and go fly a kite, and let me do smoky burnouts in your driveway, and have a nice day, Or just completely dumbfounded, he says, make them think about the reason why no one else does it. Ooh, look at this. Keith's got some stuff, man. It says, it's not hard, guys. It's not hard, Tony says. It's like we typically, you think it's Halloween. I don't know if you guys can see this. Must be a spider. That's gross. Must be a spider on the camera. Ew. Ugh. Man, that would just give you the. Anywho, it's kind of like when we get what do you call it? We get extension springs. I mean, it's kind of a hard thing. It can be filtered, right? Get some pictures, right? But typically we just go. We don't do extension springs. If the customer acts like they're like, well, I just want my extension springs replaced, and it's like they don't have the knowledge, or everybody just kind of go, we got a competition. You should probably call them. You know what I mean? Because we're just not dealing with those extension springs. Keith's got on here. He says, usually if someone gives you a hard time about any of your repair proposals, is because you didn't build a good relationship with them in the first place. That could be very, very true. I feel like I want to add to that a little bit. I don't doubt that, and I think that's where it kind of comes down to, like, a lot of times, like, confidence. The only way I can ever kind of relate this to is, like, I'm sure some of us, maybe a majority of us, we've bought something in our life, car, motorcycle, whatever. It could be a rifle, it could be anything, right? That we set of golf clubs, whatever, right? Something that we really maybe couldn't afford, right? And then we get into a pinch. Something happens, got some bills to pay, transmission pukes out, whatever. And you turn into like this panic sale, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, I got to sell this. and you end up selling it for like way less than what you wanted to sell it for because it's like a panic sale. But if you're in that position where like you can sell something, and you're like, I don't really give a crap, and somebody comes and they're like, I'll give you $1,000 less, and you're like, yeah, go fly kite. I don't need the money, dude. Like, I'm just selling it because I just don't really need it. You know what I mean? It's almost like that same attitude when you go into business to some degree, where you just can't go in there with like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. You got to go in there with like, we're making, the only way I ever think of it is kind of like a relationship or a marriage. And I go, this has got to work for both parties. I want you to be happy and I want me to be happy. But if we don't communicate and our language isn't working out here, then it's just easier to say no and goodbye, because they're going to probably be problematic. And another thing to add to it is that they could also be, they are just, you don't know how many people they ran through. That's the one scary thing. You might be the 16th person that showed up, and you're the only one that's starting to take the bait, right? And you're like, well, I guess I could. And they're like, oh yeah, I got this sucker. You know what I mean? And you don't know, And so you just got to kind of, but if certain things don't feel right and they're not going to work with, and you explain to them, because, in a nutshell, you're the expert and and you're like, this ain't going to work. I can't just do one spring. It just doesn't work that way. You know what I mean? Because if I do, I got to come back. You're going to call me at 5 o'clock on a Friday. No, we're not going to do this. And then by the time I come back and then you ridicule me, because I had this happen one time. I had a guy that was running an automotive shop, and for whatever reason, right, the doors were laid out like you could count 9 doors over one way or you count 9 doors over another way. And I remember the technician was out there, and he's like, this guy's upset. And I'm like, I stood my ground. You know what I mean? And they weren't really the greatest customer either. So I stood my ground. And I was like, this guy can go fly a flipping kite. I don't care. And he's like, you need to come out here. All right. So I drove out there. I started looking at it. I can literally look at it. And I'm like, those springs have not been changed. Like, they look like they're newer-ish, but they're not new. Like, and the next one's over. Those look like new springs. And the guy told me, he goes, man, these things aren't even, I don't even think they were 6 months old yet. And he's like, he's calling, and he's like, you guys need to get out here. He's like, these things aren't even 6 months old yet, and they already broke. And I'm like, well, we don't warranty like commercial. I was like, I don't know how many times you're using these, because they ran them by hand, and they had a lot of riffraff going on there. But I said, we'll come out and take a look and see if there's anything we can do. We go out there, we're holding firm, man. It's like, we didn't change these springs. And he says, it says right here on my paperwork, blah, blah, blah. And I remember the guy was just like, he was mad. And he's like, I'll never call you guys. And I'm just like, just staring at him. That's fine, because we really don't want your business. And he ended up, went to the office after it was done, because this is one of those customers that you get paid right now. We don't invoice this customer. Shade Tree Mechanic, let's say. And he finally come back out from his office, and he's like, I was wrong. Really? If you count 9 doors over, it was, so it was the door next to it. Yep. Didn't really say sorry, but, he at least kind of did the, like, he knew he was wrong. And I mean, he chewed me hard. And I just held my ground, man. I said, no. I said, sorry. I know. I can tell you those are brand new paint black. These ones are not. So I don't know what happened, who got what wrong, but we're not warrantying these. What's SR? He says, I need a self-closing hinge for a decorative gate. Tried a few different ones and can't find a match. Any suggestions? That's a great question. I can actually kind of help you out. If you want SR, I'm trying to think of one that's local. There's a place, and it's funny because I learned this from a guy that's out of Colorado, and when he was up here working with me for a while, he was a great dude. His name was Cole. He was like, I was like, well, how do we do this? We had a man door, 6 foot tall. It's on a fence, so it's like a fence man door, whatever you want to call it. And this company right here in Michigan, it's in Grand Rapids, Michigan. You might want to look them up. I can't think of the name right off the top of my head. But anyways, they are like God sent, right? They got all the right goodies that you need. Like they got the outside panic bar, they got the right hinge closure piece, all kinds of stuff, all kinds of stuff. And their products are good. You know what I mean? Like they're expensive, but they're good products. If you're looking for something that's, otherwise, like I don't know if we'll be able to see it. I don't think I have any kind of flashlight on me. I'll see if I can find one maybe. I got like a closer on this gate out here. And this one's worked for many years. It was actually a used one I took from. I don't know if this one's got a name on it. Let me take a walk, see. It might get dark, so bear with me, but I'll be here. Like I said, you know how it is, like the best mechanics always got the worst vehicle. I gotta be careful where I walk. It's so dark. Why is it so dark? Let's see if there's any light in here. I don't got my normal gear on, so it's just kind of but I got a flashlight. Let's see if it works. Flashlight work? Flashlight don't work. So anyways, I don't remember if they're the ones. Now my vendor had this one, right? These are the hinges, but these aren't. Oh yeah, these ones were. These were self-closing hinges, but the spring breaks in them. So there was this cat meow, and this thing is nice. This thing has all been just hanging in there, and this is made. Oh man, I can't quite see it in there. It says something lock on it. I wish it was spun around. But anywho, what I'm getting at is that but this is like a spring-loaded cylinder. This puppy works nice. Can't see it in there though. Oh, there it is. There it is. It spun around on me. Perfect. So there you go. Right there, whatever that is. What does that say? Locky, USA. This is a TB450 Plus. So I don't know if that's something you're looking for. But like I said, it's like right now I'm holding it. Let's see if I can put my foot on it. And it just auto closes. Slowly. But these were junk. These hinges with the spring loads on them. Those broke all the time. Those were junk. But the one's been great. And like I said, it was used even when I got it. Turn this light off. So that might be something. But otherwise, if you can do any research, find a place in Grand Rapids. I can't think of it. Like I said, you can email me, shoot me an email, shoot me a text. You can either text me at 231-720-9675, or you can email me at the daveadubson@gmail.com, and I can try to look it up. I haven't used them. I only use them very rarely. But they ship out stuff, and they are just like those people you talk to, and they understand your language. And you can just show them, tell them what you're trying to do, and they'll have like an engineer call you. They're just phenomenal. I used to dink around with piecing stuff together, and when you need something that's for like an industrial application, they got the back plates. I mean, they're just amazing. They'll give you a whole kit. So what's Kevin got? Keith, sorry. He says, for extension springs, just raise your price and then convert to torsion. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. I like that. I charge 100 to change one or two strings, so it's your choice. Ooh, Tony, I like that. There you go. There you go. Oh no. We got the rain is coming. Where's the rain? Is it I thought we were getting dodged tonight. It's gonna go south of us. I figured we're not gonna the weather people have been off a little bit. I I figured one of these nights we were going to lose power, but so far they've been off. We got hit hard, like I said, what was it, 3-4 weeks ago? Got some inline winds, and we had a lot of trees come down. The SR83 door call number, see if they can help. Tony says SR833, SCCR door. Call this number, see if they can help you. Huh. I don't know. But like I said, if you guys got any other questions, I'll stick here at about 11:30, and I'll pop off, try to go get some sleep, get this week started. It's gonna be muggy in the beginning, but then the next half is supposed to be very pleasant, which would be very nice because it has been super hot. I'm sure you guys have experienced it too with the heat. And it's like, I don't really mind heat. I just do not like the mugginess, man. I just don't like when I'm drenching the drips, because it's like a thunderstorm, man. When there's one drip, there's many more to come. And so I got to carry around like a sweat rag. Oh, if anybody's got any good, like, I don't want to really look like the fitness person, but I mean, if that's what I got to do, that's what I got to do. You know, but I was looking for something that was either more of a, I don't know what those people call it. Like, I always remember my one uncle would wear it when he was welding, but I don't know if that's why he wore it, like a do-rag. But I was looking for something like that almost, that just helped soak up the sweat and would evaporate it. That wouldn't look like totally ridiculous out in the field. But if I gotta go with the ring, but man, sometimes it just starts dripping, and it's like, you know, especially when you're bent over, and it's, you know, it's no fun either on a camera or on somebody. You know, so I bring a kitchen towel, and you know, it's every few minutes it's gotta wipe it. I remember a guy I used to work with was the same way, and he just said, like, you know, it started happening, and I was just like, that's kind of weird, man. Now it's me. I don't know if it's just something to do with old age or what it is. Do-rag, that's right. Rich, if you got anything, though, like I said, anything that you use or recommend for a do-rag, let me know. I'm not good enough, and I don't have the time or the patience to like sit there and like bandana it and tie it. So I need something I can just like, it's got to be like a headband, you know, something I can just whip on real quick. That's like elastic, so I don't have to tie nothing. That just stays on. And if I got to replace it after it only gets 1 year use, you know, and the stretchiness goes away, whatever. I'm just saying, if anybody's got something out there, hit me up, shoot me a text, send me a picture, or hit me up in the email, because I know this is the second time that it's happened, and I'm just like, when I'm in the field, and it's like, it's hard, especially when you're cameraing, you know, and you're doing stuff, and you're looking down, and you're dripping on your phone. You're like, oh, this is great, you know, and then your phone starts freaking out. So get a welder's skull cap. I think I've seen those before, or a place I used to work. I might have to Google it and see if I'm thinking of the same thing. But are those really good for, like, aren't they kind of grainy? Like, you know, I like something a little soft to the touch, you know? Tony's got it. He says, employees, Dave, that should help with the sweat. Yeah. I tell you, you know, it's sometimes it's hard to find good help, you know. I don't care what it is, man. I tell you, sometimes I just, man, when I go with that dripping on me, man. It's just like, another thing is too, you're in the industry, some of you guys know this, you know, when I was doing those doors, right, you know what worked really nice? A change of clothing, right? Typically, all I need for the most part, and it worked both times, was a shirt. Man, a clean t-shirt for the ride home. Because normally I wear an undergarment shirt, and that's because I don't like my suspenders rubbing on me. And then I'll wear a shirt over, so I don't look like such an old man, and it just kind of helps blend everything. But I wore my one that's even a sweatshirt, you know, like, not a sweatshirt, but it helps wick it away. And I got in the truck the second time, and I was like, man, I'm just not as comfortable. I'm sitting there driving. I'm like, what is going on? I got the air conditioning going. And I was like, I forgot to change my shirt. You know, because the first day was like, man, I was like driving. I was like, this is great, man. I was like, got a nice clean shirt. Smells good. It feels all fluffy and fresh. Oh, yeah. You know, not sitting there all like your back squishy like a sponge. And you're like, oh, man, I'm pushing that into the seat. Oh, it's horrible. Employees is LSS. No. Oh, okay. So no, they're like a bandana material. Okay, cool. I'll have to check it out. That's awesome. Thanks for recommending that, Rich. That's awesome. I'll give it a whirl. All right, guys. I'm gonna hop off. I'm gonna go find a bed somewhere, and I hope you guys have a good week. We'll see how it goes. Yeah. And so I just hope you guys have a good week. Hope you're safe out there. I hope, just hope it goes good for you. Hope you, remember, keep your fingers. Don't put them anywhere they don't belong, because they don't grow back so good. We found that out. And like I said, if you guys got anything through the week, love the pictures. Thanks, Tony, for sending me the one. Love the cement job. Just kind of wish I was there. I do like concrete. I love concrete. I don't like doing concrete, but boy, I love concrete. I don't know what about it. It's like a miracle science to me. It's like magic, but it is hard work, man. You know, but I love it. It's one of those things. I think it'll be there when I'm dead and gone. You know what I mean? So I just think it's always a cool product. It's always fun. There's always a science to it. All right, we're out. Tony said it. Night, guys. You guys have a good one. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks for being here.